Somali history, to awaken the Somali youth out there.
Okay.
We try our best, but because I've listened to some of your history about Somalia, and you was very accurate about a lot of things that you said. So most of the things, or all of the things.
This was your opinion. You want to be on a panel.
So since we are just young people, we want an elder, right? Who can also have his opinion on the discussion.
Content over everything.
Make it more fruitful.
Can I do it and run because I want to pray Maghrib at home?
No problem.
And I want to go. I was. I need to do this. Yeah. I need to. We understand each other.
Just starting again.
No, I never liked.
We had my son's naming ceremony a couple of weeks ago, so there's this rebirth, and I was
That looks
starting again.
different, you know. Well, I didn't recognize you.
I just think about Israel.
Say.
We're ready to roll, I guess, yeah?
And role play.
Is it all right? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Basically, this is another episode of Somali Corner. I'm here with the brothers. Last time we spoke about Somali problems and how Somali people can be better than they are. So today we're going to talk about more specifically socialism and socializing within the Somali people and all that stuff. Start with inshallah. Before we start, I just want to tell everybody that we've got our own Somali Corner YouTube channel where we'll be posting a lot of very fruitful stuff about Somalia, Somali history, Somali people, all sorts of positive stuff inshallah binillah. So we're going to carry on now. My brother Ali is a good speaker, so I'm going to start with him.
Shall I start the discussion?
Yeah, we can
Assalamu This is my brother from Trinidad. No, 5 minutes? Can I do 5 minutes? I'll come right back.
Trinidad and Tobago.
That's another one. And the other troll is also from Trinidad.
And today we have, mashallah, we have a special guest.
Okay, we need to stop talking now. We need to stop talking.
Let's make a good 10 minutes.
Inshallah, we have a good guest, a very, very respectful elder within the park. And basically, Sheikh, there's something I wanted to ask you. Basically, it's about Somali community and Somali people. And today, a lot of Somali youth, right? They're trying to fit in within the society, and actually, this is also affecting their culture because there are two conflicting cultures within the Somali community. There's the Somali culture, and there's the Western culture, and then there is the other, the Black identity culture. So, in a way, when we come to the Western world, Black identity culture has been downwashed into something that we're not. You get me? Like
Dominated, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a dominant culture.
Yeah.
And what would be a solution, or what advice would you give
with all the drug dealing, the gang life, and all this? What is the solution to remind people?
Okay.
Does it come from us because of our weakness in our culture?
Okay. Here's what I would say about this. First of all, to the Somali community, whom I visualize in my mind as a 5-pointed star that's broken. And those pieces need to be put back together. So in my mind, I see the 5-pointed star, but it's not joined. And what I think these young people are trying to do is bring those pieces together. If we manage the unity of the Somalias, I'm saying it in plural, including Djibouti, Ogaden, parts of the northwest Kenya, and Puntland, Somalia, Somaliland. If we get all of them together, because these people have the advantage of not only being the same religion, the same madhab. They are all Shafi'i. They speak more or less variations of the same languages, one language. There may be variations to the language, but it's one language. And if you all can effect that unity, then I see a light of hope for the whole continent of Africa. I do believe that this is not a revolution, it's an evolution. I speak from the high hill of my age now, nearly 60, and I have been in this pan-Africanist discussion since I was 15. And we seem to get places, but not as quickly as we want. We don't have the advantages that other ethnicities or other continents have had. There have been problems that we have to face. I was just discussing one of them here, that people do not pay enough attention to, because most of our leaders are townsfolk. They're urbanized, the metropolitan elite, and they were from settled communities. As a result of this, when we look at the desertification of Africa, for them it's not a problem. So what happens with our nomadic pastoralist communities is to be regarded with the same amount of impatience and frustration as the way English or Europeans look at Roma people. That's how they do it. That has bled into us. We have that. What we are failing to realize is there always will be parts of Africa, uncultivable land there, which can feed camels. It can feed goats. It can feed sheep. Humans cannot grow arable crops there to feed themselves. But having the ability to pasture livestock there, you can eat their flesh. And therefore, we cannot always think in terms of draining swamps and green and turning everything into agricultural land. Not all land will be agricultural land. So there must still be a place for pastoral nomadism in certain parts of Africa. Africa is not a monolith. And the interesting thing about the Somali culture is that it's a culture of cultures. Similar to places like in that same region, like Oman and Yemen, where when you think of the Arab, you think of the Abbala, you think of the Badu. But there is another kind of Arab, the Bahara, that sailed with ships. The old story of Sinbad the sailor is coming out of that tradition. Similarly, if you look at the Somali people from 1900, when Aden was under the control of the British, Aden became a kind of melting pot. It was like an old London. You had Indians there, you had Yemeni there, you had Africans of the Swahili there, you had Somalis there, you had Ethiopians there, and those that came under the aegis of the British Empire and became seamen, Bahara, sailing people, loads of them ended up in Cardiff and Sheffield and Liverpool, maybe some in London from 1900. So there has been a Yemeni and Somali community, and others too, Barwani and others. They call them, what is the name they used to call them? Bardoon or something. In Cardiff they call them Bardoon, I think. But the community was there from that time. So there is an old community. So people today think of the Somali community as new. They think of the Somalis of having arrived in 1995 onwards. After 1988 was the collapse of the state under Siad Barre. And people think, but people are not as fully engaged with the fact that the community is in fact the first black community in this country that endured. An enduring black community from the 1900s. It's been there. You seem to want to help me out because I think you can detect that my knowledge of this is very slender and perhaps I'm beginning to run out of road. So if there is something you want to ask me.
I want to ask you, do you consider Somalia as a homogeneous country? Or do you consider it as a... Because the way you're talking, you're saying...
What we can speak, we can only speak in terms of comparison.
Okay.
So when I speak of people, I am only doing in my mind a mental comparison. So when I make statements like the Swahili people in East Africa and the Afro-Portuguese in Luanda seem to have had less of a problem with the French, with the white man, with the colonizer than Africans who were colonized by the French and the English. I don't mean that Portuguese colonization was a good thing, or that Swahili, or that what Tipu Tip did in Zanzibar was a good thing. I'm saying by comparison, it appeared to be more benign to the extent where Afro-Portuguese don't have that hatred for Portuguese white people, and in Zanzibar, there's not that hatred against Omanis from African people. What I'm saying with the Somalis, compared to the rest of Africa, I should have answered your question straight. I shouldn't have gone all around the houses. Compared to the rest of Africa, there's far greater homogeneity. There's far greater, because what I'm doing is comparing it to the rest of Africa. There's far greater homogeneity among the Somalias. So I would say you have a lot of room. There's a lot, you all have a lot going for you. I'm told that you all have discovered oil. And I used to wonder why they were encouraging in the noughties and in the second half of the 1990s so many Somalis to come into Europe. And now I suspect the reason is they were hoping to depopulate the land. There is an intention to, and now they've given you a culture that makes you feel disinclined to go back home, to repatriate. And I'm beginning to suspect there has been an agenda that they've known about this oil perhaps from as early as the
I agree with you
70s.
on that.
Because
My
at
father
the
told
time
me
of
that.
Siad Barre, at the time of Siad
I was going
Barre,
to ask about Siad Rally. But yeah, go ahead.
it was at the time of Siad Barre when the Siad Barre actually they checked for oil in the sea and on land as well, and they found a lot of oil. So there should have been a contract should be signed between the Westerners who are doing the job and the Somali government. So the Somali government came with a like they asked for, what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, basically, okay, I'll just describe it. Yeah? All right, what happened? So the Siad Barre government,
proposal.
Exactly, proposed. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. So Siad Barre proposed the idea that how about American people train our people how to do the oiling, right? Like how to get the oil out of the system, and also you sell a lot of your system to us, so on and so forth. And we don't even have to pay you that much. You get me? Like there was this kind of agreement, but the Americans turned around and said no. Only our people are going to work in this oiling. So that was the cause of the conflict. So as soon as the Americans rejected, or the British rejected that they're going to, teach people how to do the oil thing, right? Basically, Siad Barre ordered them to leave the country within 24 hours. And after that happened, that's when everything started following.
I actually even, when I went to Somalia, I've seen it covered. It's still covered until today. So wherever they dig down, it's still out there. It's covered. You know?
There was a helicopter. I heard they even built mosques on top of certain.
So that you can't easily...
Yeah, when you enter the mosque, certain people say you can smell gasoline.
Yes,
Just so that they can hide it. But I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that.
Yeah, but the main question that I wanted to know, the thing that we wanted to do today, because there's a lot of Somali youth who are dying under gang crime and knife crime and drug dealing and prison. And when we look into this culture, it's not a Somali culture.
I'll tell you what I found, I've noticed. And my community can speak with some authority in this, maybe more young Bandaka's age group can, because I missed that age group. I arrived in this country when I was 23, and I went straight to uni. I left uni in Trinidad, came and did further studies here when I came. But I was born here, so I had the right to come in. In those days, you got a grant. I don't know why I'm talking about myself. Let me get to the subject. What I'm saying is, I can't speak as authoritatively on the subject of black on black violence as perhaps young brother Mbandaka can. But what I can say is this. Our people, the Caribbeans, have been the canary in the coal mine. That's why he can speak about this. We have been that canary in the coal mine for a long... Until you guys turned up, we were the problem. Yeah. So we know about being the police. I live in Mini Mogadishu. Halston, NWJ. And the police don't give the Somali kids a break. They don't give them a break. And I look at it and I said, you know something? Once it was us. Now I know at my age, they see me with the walkies, they won't bother me. But I see them annoying. Now how do their parents, and I want to come to this point, how do their parents react? Right next to where you got a group of Somali kids doing drugs, selling drugs, there's a mosque. And the elders act as though these children do not exist. In other words, how the elders have taken it? The elders have taken it like this. You have disgraced, in the Fulani language, they call it pulaku, what it means to be a Fulani. I'm sure in Somali you have a term like that. Yeah. So the elders are saying you have disgraced that term. You have sullied that. So you're standing right there. You do not exist. And I see it. The elders go to the mosque. They come out. The kids are misbehaving right there. Right there. The elders walk past them. They do not. So I don't know if this is a good. I suspect it's more a bad than a good thing. In other words, the elders have just given up on them, and I find it a very worrying situation. I say salam to everybody. The kids, if I see them doing wrong, I don't stop to hang, because I'm trying to show them I'm kind of not pleased with what you're doing, but I ain't gonna give up on you. So if I see them in a little alleyway between round about the mosque, I go through there, because I go to that Choice restaurant. I'm giving Choice a plug, because my wife's people they are from the same tribe. So I'm giving Choice restaurant a plug. They are from the north. So I go and buy my shoulder of meat and my rice there, and I cut through the back. And do I cut through the back, the kids are up to no good. But I ain't stopping. I'm coming to Assalamu alaikum, and I keep moving. To let them understand there are people my age who are still concerned. We're still concerned, even if they feel that they feel, I think they feel like orphans. even though they feel like orphans. I can see it in their faces, and it makes you think that if there's nobody checking us, we could do what we want.
Yeah, you know the thing is, you know I've noticed though still, like a lot of Somali people, or East Africans, including some Ethiopian Oromos, have the same mentality, that there is this black culture, right? When we say black, as whole. So when we go back to Africa, the black that we know in Africa is different from the black that we know in the West, because the black that we know in the West carries a certain agenda, it carries a certain history, and it's a code name for a certain people. So at the end of the day, when the Somalis, because Somali people, they were always told, you are Somali, right? There is no, in Somalia or in Africa in general, we do not consider them, we do not call ourselves upon our color. It's about our tribe and our clan, where we come from.
Nearly all Africans do that.
Exactly.
Color has no use in that
exactly.
context.
Yeah.
It has no value in that context.
Yeah, so basically, so when Somalis say that, I've noticed as well, like a lot of Somalis that think or say that they're black, yeah, they happen to, imitate. Yeah, they happen to imitate other, black people who are not like their culture.
Yeah,
They're trying to imitate that other black culture, and they forget like their own Somali culture. So, and historically speaking, as Somalis, when we speak about black, right? For example, Herodotus or a lot of historians, they write that black is like South Asia, South Yemen, Africa, we're all known as Ethiopia, or Asua, or Asia as we know today. That's where the root word comes from.
In fact, I will support you by saying in the book, in Herodotus' Histories, he says the dove in Greece was a black dove. They used a dove in some part, signifying that the dove was Egyptian, black. So a black dove was used by the Greeks to signify it was Egyptian. So even the Greeks recognized that we are all that color.
Yeah, exactly.
We all, the Greeks, in fact, they said it straight. In fact, they went straight and he said, he is of the opinion, I can maybe quote it almost verbatim. He was of the opinion that the Ethiopians and the Egyptians are the same race. Not only because they have black skins and woolly hair. Let me repeat what Herodotus said. I am convinced that the Ethiopians and the Egyptians belong to the same race. Not only because they have black skins and woolly hair, they have practiced circumcision from the earliest times. You hear his words? They have practiced circumcision from the earliest times. So there is that sense from early history that all that Horn of Africa was seen as black people. From Egypt go down, all of that area was seen as black people. Now, what you seem to be suggesting is that there is a way of being black that when Somalis in this urban context say they're black, they're talking about a certain kind of urban street culture. And I know exactly what you mean, and I deplore that street culture because I'm of the opinion that we have a lot of what we call part-time blacks in England. People, not just England, America too, they like what is being portrayed as black culture. It's basically urban culture with a very strong black influence. But they believe that there's a way of being black that is glamorous. It's street cred, as we used to say when I was young. It's something that gives you some sort of credibility, respect. Yeah, even that, I don't think they're even saying respect anymore. They used to say. So I believe that that is something that I want my people, Caribbeans, to distance themselves from. I don't even want that for my children. That sort of, because it's an image that's being sold. People can dip into it part-time, come out, make money with it, and you're still unemployed and being black and still being a thug. You're still being a thug. They've capitalized, they've glamorized the image of thug.
They're just making life harder for themselves.
And we feel gratified that people want to copy us. But they're not copying us. They're copying the worst of our behavior, and it worries me. Now, I'm a different age group from Young and Bandaka here. We're from two different age groups.
Yes, yes.
So perhaps I'm an old man who's no longer in touch.
What year did you come here?
I came here in 1984, but I was born here in 1961.
Okay, that's the year before I was born.
Right. See that? So, my kids are your age.
Yes. So I was going to say, just to kind of answer your question. So my grandparents come here in the 50s. And them kind of things there. And what you're describing, in a sense, they never came with that culture, if that makes sense. So they came with a culture, but what you're describing as black culture is not what they came with. So this gang culture and the kind of things they didn't come with that. When they got here, they saw that. They were already gangs, white gangs, operating in London.
Boys.
It's the circumstance of being, like you were saying, urbanized, having to battle with those gangs, those white gangs that were over here, that created a gang culture in the black community in this country, or the African Caribbean community in this country. Yeah, that's what created it. So then you add impoverishment to that in terms of ghettoization. You add police brutality. You add the influx of guns and drugs into the neighborhood. You get this environment which exists among a culture of people. So it's not the culture of the people, but the culture of the people gives expression to this thing. And I think what you're seeing is because Somalis have been here since the 90s now. So there's a generation that's been born in that same circumstance, and so they, you know what I'm saying? Now, right, just I'm saying we've adopted the same thing. So it's not as though, effectively, gang culture is not black culture. Black culture has adapted to an impoverished reality.
So what you're saying is we're going through a phase.
It's the same phase. It's the same phase, and right. Just what I'm saying, and I think that there is a, like, we've had slightly talking about this black thing, yeah. But I don't have I meet Somalis who don't identify as black and some that do. And
What do you think? Do you think Somalis are black? Yes or no?
Personally, because I don't necessarily have a problem with the term black. So when I see a Somali brother or sister, I see my brother or sister, but I identify as an African. You know what I'm saying?
But not black.
I do identify as black.
No,
but
do you identify Somalis as black?
Yes.
You do?
In as much as.
In what sense? In sense of their skin tone, or in sense of?
In as much as.
Where does this relationship?
In as much as a shared connection to a landmass.
What shared connection? What land?
African continent.
Africa. Yeah. So
in the African continent, there is no. The
No,
shared thing you're talking about.
Yeah, but why do you say
North
that?
Africa is
Because
Why do you say that?
History shows
What
otherwise.
history? So I am saying.
Explain it to me. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind learning.
That's fine. That's fine.
I don't mind learning.
Can I just say a quick
Yeah.
word on
Yes.
this?
I don't mind learning.
What I believe is this. Human sciences are not they're not exact sciences like chemistry and physics and these hard sciences. Human factors change things. Now, even if there was never such a thing as an African unity in the past, it is my unshakable conviction that we need it now. So let me repeat that. Let me repeat that. Even if there was no such thing as a pan-African unity has ever existed in the past, there is no time more pressing than now that we should find it and implement it.
Okay, we should run with that narrative.
Vital.
we should go with African instead of...
Let me ask you a question, Uncle, yeah? Because in the sense of Diop, Sheikh Anta Diop, yeah? So this is I was going to say...
Senegalese
I was going to say he's a historian, but he's more than a historian. But he has this thesis of the cultural unity of Black Africa, yeah? So in the sense that... Yeah,
sorry.
right? Yeah,
No, that does not negate the differences. We're not
it's not about
blind.
So it's not
differences.
saying everybody is the same, but there is a semblance of what he calls cultural unity. So it doesn't mean that everyone was on the same thing for completely all the time.
No, but unity comes from somewhere. I want to know, where does this unity
Here's what I
Does
think.
it come from trade?
That's why
Does it
I'm
come
asking.
from religion?
What is your name?
Where
What's
does
your
it
name,
come
brother?
from? Ali, call me Ali.
Yeah, Ali. Yeah, you should be wearing a balaclava. Give me your name. Here's what I think. Everybody know my name here? Here's what I think. You see the subcontinent of India.
Yeah.
The
Good point.
Gujarati people
Good point.
don't have much time for the Tamils.
Good point.
They don't have much time for them at all.
No issue with that.
However, what the Gujaratis have decided to do is make the state of Gujarat strong. What have the Punjabis decided? Make the state of Punjab
The question is
strong.
how.
Let me
The
land.
question is how.
The fact is, is that old expression in America. Take your cue from the Jew. Look at nations that have succeeded. You don't create an exact carbon copy, but look at how they have done things. Looking, let me come to this. I am looking at India, and I'm saying Indians, each part, have their separate identity. The state of Bengal with its great poet Rabindranath Tagore, the other parts of India I've mentioned just now, the socialist part, Kerala, the state of Kerala has a socialist ideology and so forth. Each of these states is making itself strong. Now, I do not expect African unity to come where I walk down the street and see a Somali woman say Salaam alaikum and I'll expect her to say salam to me. I live in mini Mogadishu. Unless they actually know me, they will not reply to me.
No problem.
They won't and I understand the reason why. I don't lay awake at night saying these people are hostile and racist. But I know people who do. Equally, let me answer something. I know Caribbeans who don't think they're black.
But
I don't think they're African.
True. No, my problem is...
I don't know. Let me come to... I want to meet you at a point. I want to tell you something. A lot of things that we think are some new dynamic. We've had that dynamic with West Africans.
True.
We had a situation where a lot of West Africans
True.
who in his grandparents' generation were middle class.
You're very true.
And what happened
and they came here and somebody said we're not black.
Yeah.
And
But they
seriously, exactly what you're saying.
But you have to know
not-
what black
exactly
is.
what
though.
you're
but
saying.
no, here,
No, but
that's
I have to
immaterial.
understand what black is.
I think
if we look at
we're getting
South
tied
India,
up on the
they're
label
darker
too
than
much.
us.
No,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
label
yeah,
is
yeah.
everything.
No, the label.
You can't just dismiss the label.
What I'm trying to say is this. We cannot. I'm a believer in the evolution, not the revolution. I'm too old. It ain't gonna be my grandchildren stuff. But we gotta get there, right? I cannot. If you ask me for a model of the cultural revolution in China, a lot of people lost their lives. China got where it needs to go, but a lot of people lost their lives. I don't think we want to do that.
But Uncle, I think what he's asking though,
He's asking about the Pan-African unity thing.
Yeah, I'm asking
but
what
he's
is
saying,
your glue?
But yeah, that's what he's asking.
Each
You're
place
saying
has to
you're-
be.
you're-
I'm saying
you wanna
if your
unite
place,
people
I'm saying
with
yeah, Ali,
colorism.
aka Ali. If
disagree.
if
No,
Somalians
this
are
is the point.
strong,
I
if
would
you are
Explain to me how you're going to unite the people. Is it under colorism? I want to understand that.
On top of that,
No.
Are you trying to unite the continent of Africa using colorism?
No, I
what is the thing
believe the Arabs in Africa have to be politicized into understanding that they're Africans first. I think Gaddafi had that attitude.
Okay,
I
the
think
Arabs
Ben
themselves
Bella-
understand
I
that they
think-
are Muslim first.
Come again?
The Arabs themselves understand
but
that they are
see, but
Muslim
I'm
first.
gonna
No, but you have
disagree
so many
with that.
Coptic
I'm gonna disagree
Egyptians.
with that.
You got lots of Coptic
Right,
Egyptians.
now, Uncle, with respect,
Yeah.
we will disagree on Gaddafi.
Ask all the
We
Arabs.
can disagree.
No, but
We can disagree.
think about it.
they're Arab first.
They are, seriously.
Do you think so?
Definitely.
They do.
Definitely.
I disagree with you.
Definitely.
The thing was this.
They do.
100%.
No, they believe they're Arabs.
Bring me any Arab here and ask him if he's a Muslim or Arab.
One second.
No, they're Arabs
in
first.
relation
They're
to
Arabs first.
African people.
Christian
The thing
Lebanese,
is this.
Christian Lebanese and Christian Syrians still believe they're Arabs first. Because in fact, the concept of Arabism was
no.
started by a Lebanese Christian.
But, no.
Pan-Arabism was started by a
I
Michel Aflaq. I forget his name. Google who started Baathism. Arab socialism and Arab nationalism. It was a Christian. So they do believe in the Arab thing. And I
Not only that, not only that, Uncle, check most of the countries in North Africa. Check their full name. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Most of them.
We could talk about
check. Most of them have the word Arab in the country's name.
No problem.
Egypt, is the Southern
No, that changed.
Arab
The
Republic
Arab
of
Republic,
Egypt.
no more. That was when.
When did they change
That
it?
was when it was joined with Syria.
When did they change it?
But let me ask you a
That's
question
what-
though.
Yeah, let's call Egypt now.
We diverting.
We're not diverting.
Bring us back. Let him bring us back to the
The
point.
thing is this.
Let's get back to the Somali thing.
We're talking about Africa.
Yeah. We're going to
As a Somali,
Let's go.
as a
Let's go.
Somali, maybe a lot of Somalis have the same idea about, like, you know, about my idea. As a Somali, I believe the Somalis are not black, right?
I don't believe that either. I don't believe that
Wait,
either.
okay.
You believe they're not black?
Let me finish why
I don't believe it.
Let me believe
I
what.
believe
Let
it.
me tell you why I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're talking about black as in skin color, if we're talking
I
about
don't
skin
care what the
color,
West thinks.
Somalis come.
Let him make his point.
When it comes to skin color, we come in different hues as Somalis. We got dark skin, we got brown skin, and light skin, right? For example, my brother is light skinned than me, but he's Somali. Now,
Barwani.
yeah, yeah.
That's a
Also,
Barwani right there.
I don't know what you're talking about. Keep going.
also,
He knows what you're talking about.
also, the thing is this, yeah. When we go back to when we go back to history about black, right? Black, the history of black as a whole. Okay, please, can I finish? Can I land? At least, relax. The history of black is different from the history of the Somali people. For example, look, you have. Wait, can I finish? You keep interrupting. I don't like that, bro. For example, look, when it comes to Africa,
What
right?
is Africa? Let's understand that.
Yeah,
Where does the word come from?
Let him use his placeholders. We'll question him after. We'll question it. It's a placeholder. Let him use it for now.
So now, as Somalis, we don't agree with this whole black thing, right? What we agree with is the name African. We are all African in the sense that at the end of the day, we all come from one continent. In Africa, is a very diverse continent, right? There's a lot of different people, different tribes, different Arabs. You have so many people there, right? The only foreign people that are not supposed to be there are the white people. Moving on. Now, moving on from there, when it comes to black, the color skin, we're not the only black people with dark skin. We're talking about skin. South Indians, for example, the Gujarati, the Tamils. Let me finish. The Tamils got darker skin than a lot of Somali people, right? When you come to Yemen, there are those who look like Somalis, right? But yet we classify them as Asians or Arabs, right? And then people like the Somalis are classified as what? Black, right? At the end of the day, also now coming back to the black history, black has a culture, it has a history. Also, and the history that black itself has, we do not share with as Somalis.
Right, let me
So what he's saying is,
I get what he's saying. We've had a conversation before. When
you say you're black, you're adopted.
Let me ask, right? Let's keep it to Africa right now. Who does the term black apply to?
My opinion, West Africa.
Right.
More so.
So it doesn't apply. So it doesn't apply to
Central Africa?
Does it apply to Central
Does it
Africa?
apply to it? Let me answer that question.
Yeah. Does it apply to South Africa?
If we're talking about black, because
but
there are
they
black
don't
people.
consider that. They're self.
There are black
They
people.
go by tribes as well.
The black
All
people in the
over
Western
Africa.
world,
You
right?
can't say
There are those
that-
who always talk about black strength, black this, black that.
Yeah.
But they don't. They dislike the name Africa. They don't want to be called
Some
Africans.
don't. Yeah, but
Right? Let me
there are
finish.
many that affirm Africanism.
Yeah, but
as well.
I know
Yeah.
they do that, but there's many, but there are those who say that, all right, you know what, we are not African, we are black. So I think this whole black thing, because the black that we know here in the West, we don't know that in Africa, right?
Yes and no, bro.
Also, look, if a dark Indian
I
came
feel like
to
you are
Africa,
pushing a movement that no one wants to be a part
if
of.
a dark Indian or Tamil guy
You
came
should
to
ask
Africa,
questions before you
as a
state that.
Somali,
Yeah,
you know what we call him?
You should.
The black Indian. Hindigamado, that's what we call him, because he's an Indian, he's dark. Hindigamado, which means the black Indian, right? So black has no, for example, in the West we use it as a code, as a system to, separate people, minority and majority. So black and minority.
I'm not going to dispute that.
As Somalis, we are our own community.
Right.
You get me? We are our own people.
Somali, that's Oromo, that's Amhara, that's
Yeah, but
everybody else.
I know, but these people the Oromos are related to us.
Okay.
They are our people
Swahili
too.
could go on.
Swahili,
They don't
who are the
consider
Swahili
themselves-
though?
they don't say
That's a
us
whole
that we
different
are black.
story. That's
I'm
a
just
whole
saying
different
we need
story.
to
By
unify
tribal
under
in
something
Somalia.
better than whatever
Which
is
is
going
what, as far as you're concerned.
Well, first of all, no, we can't do that. I tell you why we can't do that. That's a good thing. But there are those who are not Muslim.
I believe there are levels
nothing
of
better than La ilaha illallah.
brother, aka Ali. I think this. Also known as
That's his real name.
Yeah. Oh, is this your real name? I believe, alhamdulillah, I believe this. I believe human beings are multi-layered. We are more than one thing. There was a time in history when we didn't know what was over the hill or who lived in that other valley there. And we were just one thing. And even if you lived in that remoteness, you were still a father and a son and an uncle. A human has to be more than one thing. If perhaps you consider your religion to be the most important factor in all aspects of your life, then I understand what you're saying. I am a Muslim. It's important to me in some areas of my life, but not in all areas of my life. There are areas of my life it's not as important as race. So, for example, if you take the apartheid movement in South Africa, you had people like Ahmed Kathrada working alongside the anti-apartheid movement, and there were Muslims who said to him, pretty much like what you might say to me, why are you siding with the kuffar? He said, no, I'm siding against dhulm. Apartheid is dhulm. And I am. And the people, many of the people he was fighting with against the Boer, the white Boer, the South Afrikaners were white Christian. And many of the people he was alongside were kuffar, were mushrikeen. So he was fighting with mushrikeen to end an apartheid system which was organized by Christians.
How did Christianity come to Africa?
No, let's not go too wide. I want
you have to understand this.
Ali, wait. What I'm trying to do. Okay,
Be careful, Ali. Be careful.
I'll tell you what I do, Ali. I use too many examples to make my point, and I need to stop doing that. And
You're an elder, uncle. You're an elder.
What? You're asking me?
No, rude way. No, rude way.
African history?
No.
You don't want to do that, you know.
I don't believe in Pan-Africanism.
I don't think we've ever met before. We may have never met before.
This is the issue.
He doesn't believe in Pan-Africanism. That's the issue.
No, I don't believe it to be the solution.
Here's what I'm saying. A human has to be more than one thing. In the anti-apartheid struggle, Ahmed Kathrada was an African fighting apartheid. So he will finish with that. It doesn't mean he's going to the
He still
shrine.
prays 5 times a day.
He does his 5 daily
He's not going to see the Sangoma.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Humans today are fragmented creatures. We are split selves. We are more than just one thing. For Somalis and Saudis, I know it's kind of hard because for a long time, a man would just be Mijertain and nothing more. But now they are marrying across tribes. Kabilas. They are married. So you're no more. Yeah, it's happening more in a place like London. What's happened with your parents? Your parents are still suffering from culture shock, so they fall back on what's important, religion. And there has been an element of Gulf money coming into Somalia, and it has fueled. I remember when they used to wear now everybody in mini Mogadishu is in black. I remember they used to wear the African clothes. They used to wear now you may respect it, and it's good that you do, but you have to also realize what we gain and what we lose.
Let me ask a question.
When you stop calling yourself Ayan and Hebak and Hodan, and you only want to call yourself Muhammad and Ali and Abdullah, you're losing your link with your history.
He's on
point.
My wife, I was going to call her name out.
Ali, you have to agree with
She doesn't like me to, but her name is
You called your wife a lot today,
No, I didn't call her name.
No, yeah, just say your wife.
I will get banned from her if I do it.
I have no issue.
And all our children, we will give them Somali name, African names.
No, but there's no issue with that. I'm not saying adopt the Arab culture.
Yes.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, what I am saying is this.
I don't know why the hood came.
What?
I'm not saying adopt the Arab culture.
I am saying this simply because I better run now.
It
What I'm
did
saying
sound
is
like you're
this.
not gonna lie.
I said accept Islam.
Well, let's go finish.
Right, I'm going to come to that.
My last
I
word.
said accept
my last word. I like how you guys are
finish.
keeping this civil. I like how civil this conversation
Now we're
is.
civil.
And what I hope is that it continues this way. So I'm gonna leave on this. I know it's mischief, but you're ready for me.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I'm enjoying it. It's like a toy, a chew toy. Right. What I want is just like Indians in every part of India are proud of India on one level, but on another level
They have their own thing. And there's how much different languages in India.
Yes, every link in that chain is strong.
Sure, yes.
What we need from Africa is
every
I
link to be
don't
strong.
need to be a Maasai. You're not Maasai.
Right.
Can I
Right?
Can I be
We
a
have
Maasai and a
cows,
Muslim?
You have
But let me-
camels.
but let
I
me-
wouldn't
Can I
love
be-
your camels the way they love their
but
cows.
Can a man be a nomad and a Muslim?
Don't tell them they
Sheikh
shouldn't
Danjuma.
have cows.
I don't know what I don't
And they
understand.
must have camels,
Sheikh
and
Danjuma.
they must come
But
and
we have
tell
to-
you have cows and not camels.
But we have to address this question though, yeah.
What's the question?
Right, because
the mischievous question.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a sense, yeah, because it's
To
one
me,
that we
it's
have
an
to do,
evolution.
right?
This Pan-African thing.
Because he's saying that Africa must unite, basically under Islam,
Yeah.
So is it required then for the continent, to adopt Islam as a prerequisite for unity?
Personally, from my point of view.
Listen.
No, from my point of view, this is going to shock and amaze you.
Yes.
That was my dream.
Right.
That is my dream.
I know that. Yeah.
But here's what.
Is it
But
necessary though?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. I would like to.
I asked you if it's necessary for Africa to adopt Islam.
I like
for
everybody.
unity.
I like Islam for myself, and I think Islam has worked for me. We in the West come from the Malcolm X school of Islam, the cleanup kind of Islam, the unity kind of know your enemy brand of Islam. Like the Rasta I function with would be Nyabingi, the ones who know your enemy, deaf to black and white oppressors,
Nyabingi
both
oppressors.
kind.
Yeah.
fire burn both of them.
Yes.
The white and the black too. And the black is trouble.
Yes.
A black man coming at you as your friend and he's trouble.
That was it.
A Somali coming at you talking a language
Yes.
and he's your enemy, he's a Trojan horse, he's inside the gates. So here's what I believe. I believe the whole continent is an evolution. I love Islam for myself. And if other people join that religion, I will be happy. No coercion, la ikraha fi din. No coercion at all, whatsoever. And any hint of Arab superiority, I have no truck with it.
It's a fireball.
No patience.
More lightning.
No patience.
I agree. I have no
You
issue
see
with
this?
that. I have
You
no
see?
issue with that.
What Akari was saying.
This is how I hey.
That's what, look,
This is how I go.
My point was, it's better to unite under Islam. That's all I was saying. I wasn't
Better
saying.
thing you know Islam than
Listen,
what?
I'm not saying.
I'll tell you something. Let me
That's
We're all
Africanism.
black. We should live
Let me
like
say one last thing.
I don't rate that.
Let me say one
I don't
last
mean
thing.
nothing.
I am very
What is
familiar.
Pan-Africanism? We have to know what Pan-Africanism is.
Okay,
I'm here to learn. I'm here to
Listen,
learn.
all right, okay, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Let me tell you, there are many
Say about it,
people.
I'm Pan-African. I would love to see the whole Africa unite.
Hold on,
But you just
Under
said you
what?
you don't believe in Pan-Africanism.
No, let's slow down.
No,
let's
but
slow
no,
down.
but no. I said, what are we uniting for?
Sorry, no, you're for real.
My point is, what is the unification? I want there to be a Pan-African.
I'll come back to it.
I am simply saying this. There are parts of the world that have adopted external religions and have amazed me by the way they have done it. This thing is going to sound so confused. I mean, I am often amazed. I want us to do a study of South Korea. Because the Korean people have had their Shintoist beliefs akin to Japanese, and yet South Korea has suddenly gone into evangelical Christianity. There's a very strong element. Now, to what extent, how that will play out in the future, I am looking at that. Because I'm also looking at Christianity, Roman Catholicism in the Philippines, and how these people blend that with their culture. Now, if perhaps the culture is being subsumed under the religion, I have a problem. So, because the other day I said something, and maybe it wasn't accurate. I said we are the only continent that has adopted foreign religions and spend the rest of our time fighting over them. I mean Christianity and Islam. But then I forgot about India and then Myanmar and these places. And then there's good stories that come out of that, like perhaps South Korea. Right? What I am hoping is, look at Japan, places like that, how they can practice foreign beliefs. A lot of what the Japanese are doing is foreign, but they've Japanized it.
They've absorbed it.
Yes,
Made it Japanese.
on their own terms, right? When you start dropping all your Somali names and taking up Arabian names all the time, I'm not saying you shouldn't call your child Muhammad, but then I don't want to be my child misbehaving in the street and I'm using the word Muhammad shouting in a nasty way. No, that name should be pronounced with respect. So give your child an African name, a good Somali name, and cuss their ass out in their name.
In Somali.
Yeah. You can't be going around, Muhammad! No, that's rude. That's rude. Ali!
Let me ask you a question, Uncle.
Respectful.
Let me
But
ask
what
you a
I'm
question.
saying is, I'm not elevating the Arab over me. I'm showing you how much because this is going to surprise you, how much I love and respect my religion. What I'm saying to you is this: your culture is important. It is very important.
I have no problem with
one
that.
of these days,
More than Islam.
I agree with
see
that.
that you come late. You came late.
I agree with that. I'm not.
Uncle, alright, let me ask you a question.
I never
Let me ask you a question.
I'm not saying Africa man.
Just trying to press a button. Just
Let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Okay, let me ask you another question, yeah? Because I realize I'm in a minority right now.
That's
yeah?
all right.
It's all good. Right? No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. I'm on
listen,
the
I always
religion thing.
strive for balance.
No, I know,
What I'm
but
discussing,
I'm
yeah.
being facetious.
No, good.
Don't worry
Bring
about
it, bring it, come.
But in the sense that, in terms of pan-Africanism, right? So the last question I asked you was, does the rest of Africa need to adopt Islam? My next question is, right?
No, my answer is no.
Do we need to develop then more respect for the indigenous spiritual system?
I say yes.
In order to,
I say
just,
yes.
and I don't mean acceptance nor agreement. I'm just saying respect.
Yes, I say yes.
Compulsion in Islam.
I say
It
yes.
should, but right. Hold on.
There's no compulsion in Islam.
What are you gonna say? Say again.
There's no compulsion.
What do you mean? Sorry. What do
Oh,
you mean?
don't sidetrack
Anyway,
it,
go,
man.
go, go,
Let
go,
me ask the
No.
question.
Yeah,
Go on.
what I'm saying, because what you just said in terms of
Salamat.
Salam
زي الحال؟
alaikum. Alhamdulillah.
يلا كويس؟
تمام.
طب دقيقة بس
Yeah. The reason why I asked the question is because of what you just said a minute ago in terms of the adoption of religion and the wars that take place because of it. But I'm saying even in terms of the wars, there tends to be agreement on the view about the indigenous spiritual systems, if that makes sense. So both or the different religions look down upon these things, and I'm saying that because that represents kind of like the foundation, and there's more of it than is given credit for. So if you look at statistics, it will say that the continent is 50-something% Christian and 40-something% Muslim. The indigenous doesn't even exist. Just what I'm saying, they're not even counted. And when you look in the actual countries, you will find these people there, but they're not making it on the. Just what I'm saying. So it appears to me that the greatest hurdle is establishing that respect in terms of pan-Africanism.
100%.
Here's why I think that's not. Here's why I think.
I'm not eradicating no one.
I'm not trying to say you.
Young man,
I believe Islam
let me
is tolerant.
let me add something
I
to
hear
that.
that.
The reason why I think that does not prevail is because, like the Rastaman call it, a levity.
Yes.
Most Africans take their religion as an essential part of their everyday life.
Yes.
They haven't codified it
Right.
and compartmentalized it,
Right.
and especially it's
Right.
not written in a book.
Right.
So for African people, what we're discussing, for the real Africans, not the urban elite,
Yes.
for the real Africans who practice African religion, they will find this discussion puzzling, because for them religion doesn't work like that. As a result of it not having a name. For example, what came of the Yoruba religion in Brazil was called Candomblé. When it went to Cuba, they call it Santeria. In Trinidad, we call it Shango. Now we have different. Now today they've given it a formal name as a formal religion. They call it Ifa Orisha. Ifa Orisha. It's been given a formal name. Now I want to say a thing about that. When small kingdoms become empires, they behave imperial. And what necessarily happens is, when they have a religion and they recognize the power of that religion, they may begin to use that religion as a form of soft power to subjugate the people they have just colonized. And so Africans' cultures have never been tested in that
way.
regard.
Right.
And today we live in this dualism world of the social media. If I am right, you must be wrong. It can't be that I'm a bit right and you're a bit wrong.
I'm going to just give you one example.
Go ahead.
Right, and the only.
Yoruba?
No, not quite. No,
Okay.
further back than that. In the sense of the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt or Kemet,
Okay.
whereby they had a similar deity system, but what you see is the actual merging of the system, if that makes sense. That's how you get Amen Ra, because one was Ra and one was Amen, and when the people come together, their systems kind of come together as well, the cultures come together, then you get Amen Ra. Just what I'm saying?
Yes.
So in a sense that, and then you have other examples, because even under, we find, for example, that even during the enslavement period, when different people, because there was a lot of migrations, and there were, little as it's known, there were Maroons in Africa before there were Maroons in the Caribbean, because people were fleeing. But different groups came together and formed other groups whereby their spiritual systems didn't come into conflict. Now, that's slightly different because they were not in a position to create a nation out of it, because they were under threat of you know what I'm saying?
I think we need to come back to the Somali subject.
Yeah. I agree. No, but we're in the mix here. No, we're in the mix.
Okay, let him land that. Let him come back.
I know.
You was talking about Somalia.
You got a lot of consistency.
Let's not hijack the man's.
No. The point is that I'm making is just that it's possible, and I think that indigenous African cultures demonstrate this more than anything else, that it's possible to not have that level of antagonism, and because even a lot of the empires, East, West, North, and South Africa, had different groups of people that were dealing with different things.
I quite agree.
Just what I'm saying.
I'll say one last thing to support that, and then you can bring it back to the subject. This is quite true, because in the African mentality, one person asked me, what is the African religion? Just like we say we don't have a name for it. I said, I think it's inclusion and accommodation. That's how I said it. I said, if Africa has a religion, a pre-Abrahamic faith, we can call it accommodation and inclusion. I'll tell you why. If you look at the kind of Islam that was practiced in Senegal, prior to this away, even in Mali, prior to this Amazigh, when the Amazigh independence movement was hijacked by jihadis and turned into this thing that it has become now. Muslims in Africa did not live like that. They did in some places and in other places. If they practiced African Ubuntu, they weren't doing Islam like that. And Christians, many Christians in Africa too practiced Ubuntu. They didn't practice an imperialistic form of Christianity. Your people are an example, the Nubian Christians. These are what you're not a Muslim, but you know what I'm talking about, right? How even Islam arrived there. The people who have told lies and said that Muslims converted the Nubians by the sword is incorrect. It's not true. Dongola was Christian up to the 15th century. So if they had come in the 8th century with the sword, how come in the 15th century Dongola was still Christian?
No.
So, okay, I want to bring you back to your subject. I know I'm
But Somalis, don't forget the Somalis.
Exactly.
We didn't accept Islam through the sword as well. And we were practicing a nice term of Islam as well.
I want you. I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna. For the sake of balance, I'm not gonna leave it there for trolls to come on your page and say there wasn't Ahmad Gurei who did not fight with, and these things happened. So I can't say like. I can't just say it was always peaceful. The Christians had their crusaders in Ethiopia and the Muslims fought back with their jihadis in Ethiopia. And I will be intrigued to see whether the leader, the Christian king at the time, did any correspondence, theological correspondence, explaining why he will not accept Islam. And I wondered if the Ahmad Gurei wrote, because in Kandi, I was explaining on the last video, between the Sokoto Caliphate under Muhammad Bello and Al-Kameni and Kanem-Bornu, intellectual letters were sent back and forth as to why you can't come to us and jihad and Islamize us. We have been Muslims longer than you. So I was asking if there is such correspondence. But I want to stop taking the brothers.
No, yes. Somali.
Bring it back.
I want to ask though, would for you, are the people of Sudan, do they come under the black banner?
The people of Sudan. Which Sudanese are you talking about?
The Dinka.
Are we talking about north or south?
South.
Are we talking about? I think. Look, the south. The Sudanese people.
I'm asking. I want. You know what it is. You know my problem. No. He said you said we got the five black. No. He said we got the five black. I'm asking a question.
Let me finish.
I'm a Nubian.
Yes.
Sudan.
We're not black. We're not black. We're not all black. North Africans are not black. Listen.
How are we going to adopt the whole? Or like in the west and the east and the north. There is different empire.
Yeah, look.
When they come in, nobody
actually
says
I am black.
Exactly.
What are you after black?
Yeah.
There's no what, sorry?
You know, like there's no any division. There's no any.
What's that? He's saying something.
When we've been together,
Look at you. They see you as a black person.
They see everyone as black.
That's what I'm trying to say.
even in still like
It's obvious tribal.
maybe like
But we
10,
still,
like
but
20
everyone
years
acknowledges
back,
that African as well.
people say, some people, even they don't know about Islam, they know about Judaism. Because when they ask, who is your brother, they say, Musa.
It's the objection to the term black.
But the ones that come in, the Turkish Empire,
Right.
and the Roman and the Greek, they're one that destroy everything.
Yeah.
Not the
But what he's challenging though, because he's asking.
Let me answer your question.
Yeah.
First of all, there are two types of Sudanese. There is south and north, right? And Sudanese also.
Which wasn't always the case. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
I know it wasn't the case,
No,
but they
that's
divided
mixed
later on.
though, anyway.
But anyways, long story short, the Sudanese that you're talking about, they're called the Nilotic people. They live by the Nile.
So
right?
they're part of your people then?
Now, one sec. You see, Sudan, I'll tell you the people that are the same people as the Somali people, right?
Yes.
The Nilotic, because Somali people are also people of the river as well.
Yes.
They live by, we are river people,
Yes.
land people, and
Yes.
sea people.
Yes.
And then you have Sudanese who are also sea people,
Yes.
and river people and land people.
Right.
We share the same culture. Also, when it comes to, there's something that we call Hitidakan. Right? Hitidakan is like, have you seen, what's that, Ilhan Umar? Have you seen Ilhan Umar?
Yeah.
Have you seen the thing that she wears with the different colors?
Yeah.
That is called Hitidakan. It's actually a cultural, she's actually showing that she's Somali.
Yeah.
So it's a cultural form of thing.
Yeah.
The Sudanese wear that thing as well, like that same culture. It's called Hitidakan.
Yeah.
It comes in different colors.
Yeah.
And their men wear white. You know that white and the shield and the spear,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to the story, these people are known as Nubians and Kushites,
Yes.
right? Even the Nubians themselves come under Kushite. The Nilotic also come under some sort of a Kushitic background.
Yeah.
You get me? Now we are all the same kind of people. The Sohod, the Hamfar, the Beja, the Somali, the Oromo, the Sudanese.
Yeah.
They are one people.
Right.
I would say, I would call the Tigrania and Ahmara, but these people speak Semantic, and they are more close to Arabs than they are close to the Kushitic and the Hamitic people.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So we cannot call the Ethiopians themselves black because they are Semitic. But if you're talking about skin color, however,
Yeah.
now coming back to the story, skin color
Yeah.
is different because we're not the only black people when it comes to skin color. We can call the Sri Lankan man a black man, right? Because in Somalia, if a Sri Lankan man came to my country, you know what we're gonna call him? The Sri Lanka Gamadu, Hindi Gamadu, which means the black Sri Lanka.
But
he's got black
but this
skin.
is the point.
He's got light skin.
But if you understand migration, because a lot of the people in Southern Asia actually come from Africa.
That's what they say. I don't know.
Yeah. No, well, from my understanding of migration patterns in the world. But I'm talking about because you'll find people there. But you'll find people there that will tell you this. It's not. I'm not making up the thing. Like you find man.
What faith do you follow?
What faith?
Yeah.
I would define myself as an African spiritualist.
An African spiritualist.
Yeah.
So how do you know about migration patterns? Where do you get your information from?
What's that got to do with my spirituality?
No. Side note.
I've studied history. Just study history. Yeah. I'm not
My
saying I'm
understanding of migration pattern, I follow
Yes, sir, you
the
need to include yourself as well.
Adam and Eve
You know
story.
what? You
basically.
know
Where's
what?
they land? Where's they land?
Yo, brother.
They say Arafat.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Where then? The one that
They
say
land in the Nubian Mountain in Nabatea.
What?
In the north of Sudan, and Nabatea. Where's
Yeah,
they
can
land?
I this thing here? Because what I'm getting from what you're saying is that basically the rest of the continent, other than the
No
Horn,
problem. It's just the Christian.
Not other than the horn.
Yeah.
Basically,
They show the Christian.
is black. That's what
no.
that's what I was gonna say. Because
That's what we're saying. Look,
Yeah.
if you ask me about the horn,
Yeah.
right? For example, in West Africa, we can't call them all black
Right.
because you have the Fulani people who
Right.
migrated from the north,
Right.
right? And they were part of the.
some of them from the west.
Yeah, I know. They
Right.
Now,
But this is the thing.
but
Because there are a lot of groups in the west
Originally,
that migrated from the east.
Okay,
You understand what I'm saying? So
Islamic
listen.
narrative.
you know what I'm saying?
I can't.
Migrated from the
Yeah, but also
Islamic
look,
narrative.
when you look at these people like Akans, the Fulani,
The Ewe,
they are
the
more.
Ga.
When you look at their phenotype, they're more similar to East Africans, right? Especially the Fulani people.
I don't know about that, you know.
So okay, huh?
So are you saying?
But you have what's the
Yeah.
just like you have Somalis who mixed up with the southern Bantu people.
Yeah.
You have Somali. You see a Somali who's the same tribe as me,
Yeah.
but he has that different
Yeah.
Bantu
Yeah.
phenotype. You get me?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the same thing happened to the Fulani and the Akan he's talking about.
Yeah.
They mixed up with the West Africans, but still when you go to like Niger or Mali,
Yeah.
you see the like original Fulani people and the Somalis, you get me? Or East Africans. Now I'm trying to tell you, black, the name black, like calling a community black, only exists in the West. You get me?
So black is an English word. So
exactly. So
That's
when
the
you
thing though,
know,
innit? When we're understanding black,
Yeah.
we're understanding blackness away from the African landmass. If we're in the landmass,
Right.
If you are from the Quran,
but there is a relevance of us calling ourselves black outside of here. And I think sometimes there's a semantical game here when we say black, that people don't know what we're talking about. Black don't mean that you went through transatlantic slavery. But some people in their head, black means you are Bantu, went through slave, you don't have no lineage, you know, you got no Insta. Yeah? And Akhi, you said it last time, but don't lie. Somalis, when they think of Bantu and they think of black, they automatically think of lowliness.
Right.
we don't think
Yeah?
about
They might be all being
What's that?
I don't say
Get into the thing now.
I'm not even saying it's intentional. I'm not. I'm saying sometimes it can be conditioned.
But we have to acknowledge that over time, like people have imposed belief systems on us that have caused us to create division among ourselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes these things are not necessarily, they're not natural things that we created.
The Algerian Empire.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Part of Bantu, Somali, they were mixed.
But anyways, coming back to the subject.
I agree with what the brother's saying. Because when we're dealing with the continent of Africa, because sometimes we have the tendency to act like everyone that stayed and developed in their own place. Yeah, it never went like that, fam. Because people used to, as much as people went around the world, people went around the continent.
That's true.
Just what I'm
That's
saying.
true. However, now let's come back to the black subject. Now, let me just reply to what the brother said. First of all, there's no Somali that thinks like when they think of black, they haven't got no Riza. I know. Maybe you should send me that video. But I don't remember me saying that. But you know what I said, yeah? What I said is that black in this world that we live in right now is an identity and there's also the system code
Yeah.
placed upon certain people. Right now,
It was created by the Europeans.
Exactly,
It was-
exactly.
you have to understand.
I'm gonna say no. The word
Now,
is the word
one
black
sec,
is
one
English.
sec, one sec,
Sorry,
please.
but
Wait, let me
No, I'm talking about the negative.
Let me finish.
The negative. Ah.
From the
I'm gonna when you finish, I'm gonna come back to that. I'm
That's
gonna come
true.
back to
That's
that.
true.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Can I just
I
say
agree.
something?
Well, let me finish. I've got something to say.
Yes, boss.
Now, what I want to finish. You guys can join us all, yeah. What I want to say is this, yeah. The name black, right? There's nothing wrong with it because I'm black, right? I've got dark skin, right? There's no way I can like. I must be blind not to see my skin color. I can't escape it.
We never realized.
However, right? What you need to understand is that when we say black in the Western world, black has a culture. That name black, it has a culture.
The Western world.
Right, in the Western world.
that culture is
not
what,
in
Jamaican?
Africa. I'm talking about in the
If
Western
you go
world.
back to Somalia, the word black means something different.
Yeah.
Do you
Now,
understand? It means completely different.
What does it
Yeah.
mean in Somalia?
Well, so let me
talk about it.
get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. Calm
But
down.
here, it means something
We'll get
different.
there step by step. You get me? So now, when it comes to black as a culture, now I said it has a culture
Yeah.
in the West. It has a history in the West.
Yeah.
It has it's a code
Yes.
used for people in the West.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
So while we are in the West and we
Yes.
say we are black.
Yes.
So as a Somali in the Western world, I cannot be classified as black
All
because
right.
I do not share all the cultural
no.
everything.
In order to
I would disagree.
I'm going to disagree, but first, we need to identify.
Do you guys want
Hold
to
on.
say something?
But
All right, cool.
But
All right, okay. Come on, you can join.
But in order to disagree,
But we're
we need to identify what it is that you're identifying as the culture, the history, and the context of the term black. Yeah. So what is that for you? So what is defined as black culture? What history? Because for example, so I'm probably the archetype of black in Britain because of the Jamaican presence. My family's from Jamaica and Antigua, so you know what I'm saying. Like everybody sees black as Jamaican culture, a certain way. Yeah.
Up to an extent, yeah.
To an extent. But my Nigerian brother is still called black. You know what I'm saying? My Ghanaian brother is identified as black.
West Africa.
Right. So
West
that's,
Africa,
so we're saying West African then.
Why don't we
right?
define
What is the culture of black?
How about this? Yeah.
What is the culture of black?
Since I have specified about skin color, right?
Yeah.
How about we call the South Indians black as well?
No.
How come
no.
they can't?
Forget
How
that for a
come they
second.
can't join the community?
Khalid, forget it for a second. Please answer my question. Answer my question. I'm asking you, yeah. What is the culture of black?
That's the thing.
What is the culture? No. And what is the history? What is the historical?
Shaka,
Yeah.
this is the thing, yeah?
Yeah.
A Muslim speaker the other day
Yeah.
said something wild
Yeah.
in Birmingham. Said, brothers, stop acting black. Let's act decent.
True. I saw it. Oh, I saw the thing.
No, but
I saw the
black
thing.
is a culture as well. You have to understand.
No,
that.
but I
no.
disagree. Hold on. But we can't keep saying black is a culture and not identify what culture is black. So I'm asking you, what culture is black? What is it?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right?
And I'm saying the black.
No, Charlie, you have to please.
I'm saying
what culture is black?
I'm saying blackness, from what I see, is an amalgamation of different cultures. From different
Say that word.
places.
Say that A
It's
word
an
again. Say that A word again.
Of different cultures.
That's a
It's
beautiful word.
amalgamation, bro.
That's a beautiful English word. Amalgamation, right? And this is the point I'm trying to make here, because in the sense of when we're looking at blackness, right? The term black, because you talk about the black power, that kind of thing.
Everything, man.
All of that kind of stuff.
Everything.
So then we have to but this is the point I'm trying to make. Because when we
white then.
this is what I'm trying to say.
Wait,
because
relax.
blackness,
No, we'll get
because
there.
our brothers and sisters on the continent didn't go through transatlantic slavery, but are still identified as black. So the term black is not synonymous with slavery.
Yeah.
It includes slavery, yeah, but it's not synonymous with it. It's not exclusive. And that's true. But so the point is that the identification of black. Why did people identify themselves as black? And how did the culture become known as black? That's what we have to answer.
That's a good question.
Right, and I'm saying
It leads you to one goal, by the
so
way.
let me answer the question.
Can I reply to that?
Let me pause it.
I know a lot of us walk that
Let me
path.
pause it and answer to the
That's what I'm
question.
trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah, can I do that?
All right, go.
Right?
Because I've got something in my mind. I don't want to
Yeah,
lose.
no, it's cool. Let me pause it and answer this question. Right? So obviously, our complexion or our features, yeah, was defined as black. Yeah. In a certain aspect.
By who?
And it's an English word, so it's by Europeans, yeah? What's it called? Now,
I've got a good answer. Don't worry.
right?
Let him say it.
Charlie, hey!
He's burning. He wants to get out.
I've been there before, you know, so he don't know that I've anticipated his answer, but it's all good. Right? It's all good, all right? Now, I'm just dealing with post enslavement now, yeah. So, but black was given to us as a derogatory thing, yeah, and it's defining features, it's defining our phenotype. And we get to a point where we say, actually, this black skin is beautiful around here. Look at this black skin, and its big nose, and its big lips, and then you know what I'm saying, and even the shape of the black woman was defined as devilish and wicked and subhuman, right? Exactly. So we're saying now, look at these beautiful behinds and this shape, and we're saying this is beautiful, right? Now we're looking at the fact that we've been displaced across the diaspora now, yeah, and we're saying that not only is this blackness beautiful, but I can identify this blackness in my brothers and sisters around the world, right? So blackness, and I'll tell you this. Blackness is actually late in the day as an identifier. Africans were self-identifying as African even in the diaspora in the 1700s. Yeah? So black now becomes, black and African becomes synonymous to each other.
You don't understand the Somali man, that's why
let me finish. Right, so I'm just saying, so it's understanding that even though we've been displaced and dispersed, and because of that,
here comes there is a complex.
Right? What's it called? Even though we've been displaced and dispersed, yeah, because we share a history, we share our origin from a certain place, we're using terminologies that are able to amalgamate that experience under one banner. That's all it means. That's all it means. So there's nothing less black about man because man comes from Jamaica. There's nothing less black about man because man comes from Ghana. All it means is that we can identify the linkages between our experience, even though mine has evolved this way in where I'm at, and yours has evolved that way where you're at. That's all it is. Yeah? That's all it is. Because they were calling us nigger and negro. And we said, no, we're not negro no more, it's black. And not only is it black, black is beautiful, black power, it's liberation. So now I'm looking at my brothers and sisters in Africa and I'm saying, yo, me and you are related out here. Through this Africanness, through this blackness. They're synonyms for each other.
No. He said well. I respect that. Like you
I give thanks, bro.
Mashallah. Alright. Now, let's go back to the whole thing, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Like let's go back to the Somali point of view now, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Now, as Somalis, right? Like when the Western people, no.
He's just making it. He's a Somali, though. He said he's a Somali. Got different points. That's what it is.
Now you can have your opinion. You can have your opinion. But I'm speaking about the majority that have my opinion.
He's talking about his experience.
There's a lot of people that have my opinion.
You're a minority, bro.
Wait.
It's that Brexit, fam. We gotta leave because the majority said we gotta leave.
Look. The thing is this, yeah. There's a lot of people. I'm not. If a lot of Somalis agreed with this point of like we're all black, I wouldn't be speaking out here saying so.
I hear what you're saying.
Exactly. So I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people. You get me? Now, if I'm wrong, a lot of people, like my sisters, also can correct me. You get me?
Yes.
Now, the thing is this: when the white men came to Africa, right, they started labeling people different names. Right? So they came to Somalia. Right, and they did not actually label us black. You get me? They actually gave us a different name. Like,
what did they label you?
Huh?
What did they label you?
Nah, they started describing about our phenotypes, what to call us. They didn't even know what to call us. Rather, they start calling us by tribes. For example, the Gadhajis, and you know, the Ogaden region, and you know, the South region of Somalia. They start calling us by labels of that.
That's the whole of Africa.
Exactly.
It's not literal as Somali word.
Let me finish. Now, however, when he came to the other parts of Africa, right, especially West Africa, South Africa, all these places, excluding North African Horn of Africa, right? They start calling them, i.e. the Negro, the black man, what's it called? Also, they started differentiating the Negro phenotype and the what's it called, the Somali or the Horn of African phenotype. They had these differences that they actually differentiated the two. Now, I don't want to go according to the white man's, you know,
good, well done.
I don't want to do that.
I appreciate that.
You get me?
I appreciate that, my brother.
The reason why I brought that up is because my brother here, he said, you know, what was it called? Something about the white people and how they divide us here and there. So I just wanted to bring that up. Now, coming back to Somalis believing, are they black or not?
Yes.
Right? You asked me, what culture are we talking about? What history are we talking about? All right. Now, when we go to Somalia, right, starting from the 7th century until the 1800s, right? It was not the first golden age. It was the second golden age of the Somali people, right? And they were really strong, really powerful.
Say the dates again. Say the dates again. The dates that you just mentioned again. The years. You said.
From the 7th century until the 18th century.
Go ahead.
You get me? So they were really powerful people.
Yes.
Now, what happened in those process is that, for example, we were as hostile as compared to many of our neighbors. For example, the Arabs were nomadic people, hostile nomadic people. We were a bit more hostile than them. So the Arabs would never try and to enslave us. Rather, even when Islam came to us, they came slowly like, you know what, we got this deen. If you want to take it, take it. If you leave it, leave it. It was like, all right, that sounds good. We're going to take it. They built a mosque with 2 qiblas. They left. You get me? That's how easy it was. We've never been through that history of slavery and this and that. However, now going back, exactly, and then the white man comes, right? The white man comes. The first to come to Somali shores was the Portuguese, right? And we know what happened to them, right? The Ajuran broke them several times.
They were defeated 4 times.
Yeah, several times. Yeah, a lot of times. They were defeated in the ocean. A lot of times. Yeah. They tried their best to take Somali slaves. They could not. You get me? The best they could do is to destroy the system of the Ajuran, right? And the Adal Sultanate. After they did that, then the Somalis separated into different.
When did they come to the Adal Sultanate? Wasn't that when the Portuguese were fighting with the Abyssinians? And
yeah, but at first,
yeah,
I know. But what happened is this. What you need to understand is.
I know the Portuguese were different, but you also mentioned the older states. So
there is a connection. Let me tell you why I said that, because there's a connection of the Adal and the Ajuran. I'll tell you the connection. Yeah. For example, in Adal, Zaylat went under Adal Sultanate, right? And Zaylat was the Islamic library of Somalia. Right, many of the royals of Ajurans.
The mosque was built in Zaylat. Yeah.
Exactly, many of the Ajurans will go there to learn. Right, the royals and all the powerful people. That's where the source was. So they understood once they break this part of Somalia, then this other part is weakened. So they and also the Barawa side was really strong as well. They targeted the most strongholds of the Somali people, and that's how Somali people fell. Now coming back to the history. Now that's the Somali history. Now there is no part in this history that, for example, when you talk about Malcolm X or what's that guy, Martin Luther,
Nelson Mandela.
You get me, Nelson Mandela, and all these people. Now, this is what they call the Black history,
but
the Black movement, or the Black Panther.
Wasn't Somali one of the first countries to help Nelson Mandela?
No, we helped Nelson Mandela. That's true.
No, but what he's saying is,
what about the man Ibrahim Farah, who was a half Welsh, half Somali man during I think it was the 19th century, right? He built a factory in Wales. He was one of the first half Somali, half Welsh.
Can you say that on camera, because I want everybody to hear that? That's really good. I like that, because I like to learn as well. All right, cool, no problem.
It's like, no, just project your voice to the mic here.
To the mic.
So first I'm going to mention how Somalia was one of the first countries to support Nelson Mandela through the apartheid, right?
That's true.
They were with him.
Yeah.
Another
and Burundi
is
and many other countries.
He was a half Welsh, half Somali man, right? He was the first to own factories in Wales when we were accepted there. When we first came, the first group of seamen that came to Wales, the first Somali seamen. He also aided Nelson Mandela. So I don't really understand how Nelson Mandela was Black history, but Somalis were the first to aid him.
So. Nelson,
that's a powerful Somali African woman. That's a powerful point for the Somali African woman.
Wait, let me finish.
Acceptable to adopt the whole culture.
Oh no,
But we have to understand what the culture is.
Let me answer the sister's question. All right, the thing about Ifiri, this thing, Nelson Mandela was an African, right? He was against what's it called, Western imperialism and all this kind of stuff. And the reason why, can I finish? And the reason why Siad, brother. One second. And the reason why, now, because you're always talking when I'm talking, you don't talk when I'm quiet.
No, you're gonna tag that college, you know. This is the fire stuff, you know. You have to let him finish, you know.
Now, the thing is this, The reason why I said Nelson Mandela, right, is because, the people of Nelson Mandela, South Africans, were also going through not only imperialism, they're also going through slavery, right?
Oh,
yeah.
In South Africa?
Yeah, there was slavery in South Africa.
I know there was apartheid.
No, hold on. I think I understand what you're saying, but finish first. Go on.
But you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not. You can correct me, right? But for example, maybe I was wrong for adding Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela was a pan-Africanist, right? And the reason why Somalia helped, because the Somali people, they were just helping every African country that were struggling to get rid of the white man imperialists, because they also helped Burundi. They helped Mozambique.
Was there a reason why they did it?
A lot of countries at the time.
Because it could have been.
I get it. Somalia had to read one man. I get it. Somalia had to read one man.
Could that have been due to an African Could it have been down to an
You're
African
right.
link, though?
Just because Somalia was the first to help Nelson Mandela does not constitute.
No.
It does not. But apart from Nelson Mandela, apart from exactly, apart from Nelson Mandela, the rest of the when we talk about African history, if we want to include the brothers, the slavery brothers, and all this, if we want to say that's African history, I don't mind. But when we say black history, black has a double meaning.
But this is the point trying to make. What? Because I've given a right, and I've already said that black is not exclusive to the slavery experience.
I understand,
right?
but it's just not. They don't
Right?
need to be associated with that.
We don't share that history.
But your association is erroneous because that's not what it is. So personally, I'm not overly passionate about the word black. It's English. Yeah, it's English. You know what I'm saying? But what it is for me is that because I speak English and understand that the people that spoke English that came up with this thing, what they meant. That's what I'm trying to that's what I'm trying to present. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not like, it's not a deep thing for me, the word black, B-L-A-C-K. Yeah? It's not that deep for me. I'm saying that what it symbolized is more important to me. What it meant, what it represented is more important to me. And I'm saying to you that you cannot make what people were referring to as black synonymous exclusively with slavery, because that's not what it meant. Okay, now, right? So let me say a quick thing here, because you said something about the designations.
Well, I just want to say before you continue,
go on.
Because we've got a lot of brothers and sisters who came to continue the Somali corner stuff. But
you know me, I'm going to respect the thing.
No, you can continue. Finish your point, and then we're going to continue.
I thought we were still on it.
Let me just make the point. Yeah, this is my little thing that I coined. Yeah, is the Izza complex. Yeah, Izza in Arabic translate as like might and like pride and integrity and surrounded around that. Now notice, my brother, I don't believe in and of himself. He looks at me like I'm lower. But he does see the history, subconsciously as lower. And let me demonstrate why. And I love the brother, you know. I get what you're saying. When he mentions Somalia and he mentions Puntland, he mentions it's so romantic. Oh, beautiful! It's so romantic. It's poetry, right? And he's entitled to that. I can't even take that from him. I can't even take it from him. No, but then he mentions all these adjectives like powerful, mighty, and protectors,
and nobody ever enslaved us.
Right, exactly. And then when you mention black and Bantu, subjugation.
It's true.
That's what it is.
You did it yourself.
No. Don't say Bantu. Don't say Bantu.
Not Bantu. People want their titles.
I recognize.
A doctor can't be an engineer and a doctor.
Okay, so let's take away Bantu.
Not Bantu.
Let's take away Bantu.
I recognize the Bantu.
What is Bantu?
West African.
What is Bantu? What is Bantu?
Not West African.
What is Bantu?
We're talking about black specifically, the name black.
But what is Bantu? What is so is black Bantu and Bantu black? Yeah.
No. Okay, no, it's not like that.
Bantu. But I'm asking. So is that a no then?
No. Black's not Bantu.
Black is not Bantu.
Listen, I don't even like that name Bantu. That word Bantu doesn't even mean anything.
What does it mean?
Doesn't mean anything.
What it means
It's a word that they've used, to encompass a whole bunch of people.
That's what I was going to say.
Certain regions.
That's what I was going to say.
No,
because the European. Listen, because Bantu is a word in a language group. Yeah. Hold on.
I'm gonna bring that up as well. And when you hear Somali, do you know how many times I've heard Jarir?
No.
In a derogatory manner. It's never ever used in a positive
This is the point I'm making. Because the people from which the word Bantu comes don't define themselves as Bantu.
One second.
No, but they refer to themselves as Jared.
And it's
They do.
You get it now?
Say it again.
Jared means like
Curly hair, soft hair. Curly hair, soft
Jared
hair.
means Jared. So the Jared call itself.
after hair.
Jalak. The Jalak
You mean like that?
No, this is curly hair. This is Jalak, man.
That's how they call each other.
So I've got what here? This is what?
What based on hair? What I'm saying.
Based on a man.
But anyways, they
You
just
understand now?
Somalis are visual people.
That's why two brothers. One will have harder
and
hair
two, there are
than the
people
other
that
Yeah, but they're not gonna call man Jarir. He's not gonna call his brother Jarir.
all the way to
From the
south.
northwestern part of Africa, no, not northwestern, western, central part of Africa, to the eastern part. So you do have Bantu people.
Bro,
You have encompassed part.
No. There is a group that can be identified as Bantu. Yeah. What I'm saying is that in their language, hold on. But in the language, Bantu just means human beings. Yeah, it's not a culture. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's not. So there is not a. But what it is.
One at a time.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah.
Anyway, I was just.
Wait, you ready?
Listen, I was just saying. Listen, that's all. I was just demonstrating that.
But you are right.
It's a complex.
There is
And
a
whilst
context.
brothers like Khalid and other brothers here are a lot better at it, yeah. You should see. I showed Khalid something on Facebook the other day, right? Where Somalis take offence sometimes. And it's not something small. There's a lot of them take offence when things like marriages happen to people of West or furthermore. To the west you move from Somalia, from Somalia.
Right, to Congo and
As the far west you move, the more unacceptable it becomes, to have your daughter marry someone from those. And I'm saying that is a demonstration. When a man looks at you like you're not even from the same landmass, I'm not even saying accept me as a Somali.
One second, brother.
But I'm saying what he described is not indigenous. That's been created somewhere.
Let's make some
But there's a whole bunch. I just want to question that. But there's a whole no, because someone said they do it with everyone. Somalis,
Adan, white people, Indians, everybody's saying.
But listen, but there's a whole bunch of Ishaqis who are saying they're Arab. There's a whole bunch of Ishaqis saying they're Arab.
Oh God.
Land
That's not big tribe here, man. No tribe.
Sorry, I was just because that's the brothers that I know, innit? So I'm just saying, don't watch that. I'm HY anyway, bro. But I'm just saying, innit? Just a last point, just to say, look,
But brother, when you talk
if you
about
take away
Somalia,
the bad connotation, this thing of subjugation and slavery from it, then the term black will know it won't like. It won't be a thing for you to ascribe it. Literally, you could call us Super Saiyan, bro. It's only call us Super Saiyan. It's just a term. Listen,
This guy, you're a deep guy, you know. No, Super Saiyan, you know. Super Saiyan, Dragon Ball Z. Man would prefer to identify with flipping Goku and Gohan. No, this is deep. No, I want you to understand, I want you to understand the depth of what you just said. Chale. I want you to understand, the Dragon Ball Z, you know. No, fam, I can't deal with it. No, it's gone. It's gone. No, do you know why? Because the reason why is because we could identify the strength behind movements and peoples that identify with blackness. We could identify because there is a whole term and a movement called Black Power and what they were trying to promote. You could have seen that in it.
There was no Somali in that Black Power, was it?
I wouldn't say that's the case. I wouldn't say that's the case. But whether there was or not, because you could say that.
Africa, that's why they're covering themselves white. That goes out to all of Africa, bro.
as to what?
Yeah,
Now,
but at
I'm
the
going to
same
agree
time,
with you.
come back.
Sister, I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to. And I would agree with that. And you know, we've had that debate, right? West Africans don't like it.
I don't know if you guys noticed,
That's nonsense.
One sec. I don't know if a lot of Somalis notice or you lot notice, or other black people notice. When a Somali, when you see some Somalis that actually claim that they are black, right? Because they see black as a different culture.
I don't say,
right? They feel like saying that we are blacks, like, letting go of your Somali culture. The Somali culture is a contribution to the black identity. So once they say we are black, they kind of act like there's no Islamicness, there's no Somaliness in it. You get me? So I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I'll answer that question.
دخلنا كتجاي مركنا مركنا دام كده قف كده بلاقة هاي قد كود دخلنا كتجاي دخلنا الآن عمل بحيث تغيين okay you get me لكني at the same time there are those who say I know a girl by the name of London. She's really how she's a speaker basically, right? And she says that she classifies herself as black, but she's Somali. But she still keeps her culture and everything. But at the same time, you see black as your skin color. Like, for example, I'm black.
Right.
Mashallah.
But bro, what Sheikh Danjuma was saying to you though is that the same thing could have been said for some West Africans who came here and felt that their children were adopting Jamaican culture. So they were identifying black with Jamaican culture or West Indian culture and saying that because you start walking in the house like this now, he's adopting black culture. Just what I'm saying. And I'm saying that, but I'm saying that for a lot of people, for the people that came from the West Indies that had an African-centered consciousness, saw that brother as his brother and wanted to learn from him also. So I'm born with all African names because there were Africans here that were learning from brothers and sisters from the continent, just what I'm saying, because they were identified with being African. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and it wasn't even like my ancestry is West African. My names are East African because it wasn't particular for my parents to have West African names or names that come from the traditions that we know our people come from. It was identifying with Africa. Just what I'm saying, and African cultures. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of nuance in this. And I'm going to agree with what the sister said.
Keep saying Africa. What is Africa?
Bro.
No, but you
That's what I'm saying. It gets deeper than that.
It does.
They don't stop
I'm saying.
Africa is a continent. It's
I'm agreeing.
no,
I'm agreeing. I understand
no problem with that.
But I understand what I'm saying, innit? You don't have to agree with it fully. What I'm saying to you is this was the expectation.
No, let him go. Okay, you have to be open about it.
Yeah, cool.
The thing is this,
Sorry, we won't take over.
Yeah.
we want to come back to the Somali subject, right? At the end of the day, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things that go on.
Bro, no one should take away the pride from Somalia.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things.
There's absolutely no problem, yeah. Especially when people look towards us and make us want to feel down in ourselves because of. Listen, if you're Somali, be proud Somali.
Yeah. And you know man defends that
chest.
all the time, fam.
Wave,
you know man defends
wave
that.
the flag. My only objection to people, yeah, is when they want to trample over you because they feel they got something better than you.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
it. If you're good, look, you're good with. If Khalid came to Ghana now, yeah, and he was my neighbour, I would have no issue with him. Yeah. Do your Somali, whatever, eat your food. I love Somali food as well. Like play your music, do whatever you want to do that makes you feel Somali, and I'm gonna do what makes me feel cool, right? Yeah. But I'm saying those things, right? It's the issue arises is when the conflict or you start treating people differently and start discriminating on the basis.
But what the sister said is important.
Let me say something very short, right? See, when a Somali, or when I say particularly like or speak about black culture, black history. For example, if my brother Riza came to me and said, I'm a Ghanaian, I prefer an African to come to me and tell me that they are from that specific country or they are from here, or like, you get me? But if you come to me and be like, I'm black, right? Which black are you? Right, like, are you a Western black? Like, have you been here all your life? Like,
if he says Ghanaian, you don't know whether he's Ashanti.
No, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. But I don't care about that. But I don't care about that. He's Ghanaian, right? But that gives you an identity.
But ask yourself. But Khalid, think about it. Think about what you just said. Ask yourself why Ghanaian is sufficient.
But you know, I'm a Somali.
Yeah.
Care about my tribe.
But hear what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Question his tribe was.
I think he's saying.
Why not ask him about his tribe?
Especially because what we know as Ghana today was created by the British.
I think I know Khalid is saying by Ghanaian he can kind of narrow it down to what
I get it.
But by black,
I understand because I know your history. I know who you are.
I'm saying as being someone that's been raised here, I have a homeland culture, but I also have an amalgamation of a culture of my experience in this country, right? Which means, I would have been influenced by bashment music. I would have been influenced by garage, right? I would have been influenced by the early years of Afro beats or whatever it is. Like, I might drop a few Somali words here. I might try and drop a little patois here. Right? I still speak Twi. At the end of the day, these are all cultures that I've accepted because they come from the land.
We've got an amalgamated thing. Yes, I get it.
So I'm saying, my thing is, but there seems to be a bit of an issue, with Somalis and their early entrance into the UK and how quickly their children took to the culture at the time, which was predominantly Caribbean culture.
But at the same time, though, we also have, but I don't want the sister to get lost. I don't want the sister to get, because the sister said that there was also a thing whereby a lot of the rest of the black community over here had a thing about Somalians that was rejecting. Sorry, I know not to say that. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why. I never say it. I never say that. I apologize. I don't know why I did that. But it was a thing, because I remember in school that kind of thing. It was a thing, right? And
I'm not gonna lie. That is something that me myself I didn't experience.
I saw it. And partly because I went to a school in East London, which was in like hood East London, and there was so when the Somalis came in the 90s. Like a lot of them went to my school. My school was like the worst school. So we had all the quote-unquote refugees, from all Kosovo. Like,
you know what you said, refugees? Right? First thing came to my mind was Kosovo as well.
Right, I'm saying, seriously, my school had all of them. It was like all of them came to my school. When the volcano erupted in Montserrat, half of them came to my school. Just what I'm saying, like it was a thing. So I'm saying I saw the thing in it. Just what I'm saying, and I feel like again that this happens before the Somalis. The Nigerians could have had the same story. The Nigerians said we were rejected by the black community over here. They could have said that.
Okay,
Right?
Sorry,
Just
bro,
what I'm saying.
listen. Nigerians and Ghanaians used to run into each other all the time. We still gun each other over our
All the
cultural
time,
differences.
all the time.
Right, but it's
All the
still
time.
all love at the end of the day.
Slightly different, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Right, but my point is that all of us have been inbred here with a certain level of self-hatred and xenophobia with regards to each other. You know what I'm saying? That we have to get over. And I'm saying that, so it took for people like, well, my dad and that generation to say, no, we're Africans and we're going to embrace our brothers and sisters and learn about each other and them kind of things there. And it took for those people to have an impact in their various different generations so that even the youth them now can have an amalgamated experience, in this African kind of, UK black whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and I've enjoyed, like, even coming there, even me and my brother disagree, but I learn from man every week. Every time he goes into Somali history, I learn from it. You know what I'm saying? And I study, you know what I'm saying? So it's not even a thing whereby disagreements don't have to be that far.
Yeah, but also there's, like, when, for example, look, something that we all need to understand, yeah? It's like, for example, I don't know if you guys can be familiar with, for example,
don't let this shoot jump on the thing as well.
No, I'm not. Trust me, bro. But are you leaving?
I'm gonna go for Sully, my good
Alright, no problem. So basically, look, when it comes to schooling, right? School there's a lot of Somali youth, right? They get looked down upon, right? You're Somali, you're this, you're that. So you're not black, for example. That's what some of them will say to them. You're not black because you're Somali and all that kind of stuff. Now let that be, right? But the Somali person who's in that school, the young boy, the young girl, right? She wants to know what black is, right? And some of them, not all of them, I would say all of them, but some of them, they want to adapt. They want to, evolve with whatever it is. Like, they want to take part of this blackness and fit in and all that kind of stuff. So they will go through any level, any way to get to that level of being black like them or what the black culture is. But like you explained earlier, the black culture has been, it just took a different turn. It's not actually what we say is black culture. You hear me? So that black culture that we have today, right, is what some Somalis or some Somali youth want to adapt. Like, when it comes to, they, like, for example, we are Muslims, right? And they are half, naked. You hear me? And because they think that is, advancement or, blackness. You get me? And all that kind of stuff. So that's what they associate with. So when a lot of Somalis say we're not black, we're trying to stay away from this identity. But at the end of the day, what I want to really talk about today is this whole gang relation, knife crime, social, you get me, back home, because we are the youth, you get me, we are the people of tomorrow. Everybody that's leading today, Somalia, they're going to pass away. They're not going to be here forever. So if they ruin, because what they're ruling, what they have in hand at the moment, is our heritage, is what we're going to take at the end of the day, right? But if they ruin what we have, we're not going to be left with anything. At the end of the day, Ethiopia is hungry for what? Ocean. You get me? It's landlocked, right?
Make money from Ethiopia.
All right?
Please,
let me
100
finish.
million people of Ethiopians, you can actually make money of Ethiopia.
Okay.
You got the seeds, you get the product, start selling in Ethiopia, trading.
I know what you mean, but that's not. I'm talking about different. I'm talking about different narratives.
I thought that was starting to happen though.
No.
Yeah, it's already happening now.
I'm talking about.
They're trying to take over.
No one's trying to take over.
I'm gonna show you. How about this? How about showing that?
Sleeping like while they're taking over.
They said there were 100 million.
No, but you think the people are sleeping while they're taking over?
They said there were 100 million.
What they even
has
say.
successfully ended a 20-year conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea. If he can do that, sorry, I was just saying, Abiy Ahmed, he's successly ended the 20-year conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea. So if he can do that, then I don't see why he doesn't want to end up taking over our land as well and eventually taking our sea. So that's definitely something.
I'll show you guys something really shocking.
And Ethiopia has America, they're allies with America, they're allies with Israel.
Not a problem.
Let's not
but
forget
Somalia
that.
is not the sort of country where you could just go and just take over and the people are just sleeping away.
Well, of course, yeah.
It's not like that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Even when I was in Ethiopia, I traveled to Somalia. I've been with the people. It doesn't work like that. I don't think they're just going to pick up their guns and come. They can't even find
it.
The region Ugaden. Forget about the whole of Somalia. You understand?
Yeah.
So And they don't want that. A lot of people are going to die. Like, it's not going to work for them. Trust me.
Yeah, but there are 100 million.
It don't matter. They came to Mogadishu before, and look what happened in
They
Mogadishu.
are almost fleeing into
Remember when they come to Mogadishu?
Somaliland.
Okay, but next time they come back, they can come back more organized.
No problem.
You're ready.
Not a problem.
All right, listen.
Yeah, there were before.
All right, I'm gonna read this out. Yeah. For example, this is a Ethiopian general, right? Read what it says. It's really like how do you qasanta? You get me? So what? Yeah, I'm changing it. What could you now? Changing what could you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's more. Yeah, someone says we're 100 million.
Man here, okay, this man.
You know what they're trying to say?
And there's no doubt they will one day have access to the sea.
Exactly. So
Because when hunger strikes, people do desperate things.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is that we Somalis, right? We are really rich. Okay, allow this man. Stop interrupting when I'm saying something, bro. Wallahi, man. Okay, Allah ma'aramu. Salam alaikum. Very, waxaan sheega marka. Somalia, look, first of all, we had rich history, right? And what the conflict between the Somalis occurred around the 1900s. 100%, right? And that occurred simply because there were two conflicting ideas. There was the Western political idea and the Somali local law and political system, right? So what they have done, because this one is based on Qabils, Sheikhs, Nabadon, and all this stuff, and this one is based on one people leading and, you know, taking from different, like, everything's jumbo gumbo. So a lot of Somalis didn't like this. Around 1960s, that was supposed to be the most or the worst Somali civil wars was meant to happen if people like Siad Barre didn't intervene. So the intervention of Siad Barre actually saved the Somalis from a civil war, but he was also himself the cause of civil war at the end of the day.
No, but then that's the whole of Somalia.
Yeah, well, let me finish, yeah? So at the end of the day, you can say your half of it, don't worry, yeah? At the end of the day, as Somalis, yeah, we lost our land because of, you know, because we were fighting each other and all that kind of stuff, and simply because like the tribal men.
We didn't lose our land. We lost our connection.
Our
we lost
connection.
our unity.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
Thank you for mashallah. But what I'm trying to say, thank you for correcting me. Yeah, we still got our land, but we lost our connection. And the reason why we lost our connection is simply because we are not adhering to one thing. Because remember, before we started trusting the white man or fearing the white man, we feared Allah and we trusted Islam. And that was what connected us. And we had levels of trust and laws. For example, if you look at the empires like the Juran or the Galedi or these people, when you see their system, you'll see every single tribe had a system to work on. Everyone had something to do, right? Whereby today only certain tribes, for example, 4.5 is 100% it's not fair. Wallahi, disaster. You get me?
I agree with that.
Because there's a lot of people in the 0.5 who are really intelligent, really smart, and who can lead the country forward. You get me? So what I'm trying to get at the end of the day, we are here in the UK. Right? We at the end of the day, when we get to 30, because after 5 years I'm going to be 30. You get me?
We are the new generation.
Yeah, we are the new generation, and we have to go back home and change something. So my idea right now, or everybody's idea that I want to share today, is that we should come with a common idea that, I don't know, exactly, a plan that, first of all, let's start with our community, the Somali community in the UK. I said this before, I've got a lot of connections with the Somali Council. There's a lot of Somalis who work there. I've got connections with the Somali TV channels, right, all of them. And, you know, when it comes to media and support, I've got it. But I need, like, young people who are ready to speak out and talk about Somali people and support the Somali youth. Also, there's a lot of...
What do you think? What is the
okay,
problem
the thing is
Somalia
this.
has?
Okay, the thing with the Somali people right now, how come young Somali people who probably could be the same, like, you get me, the same family in the yeah? And they're killing each other.
Tribal warfare.
No, I'm talking about here. Let's forget about home. Here in the UK, we run away from war. But here in the UK, there's another war. There's a street war.
Yes, it's referring to gang crime.
Gang crime, right? Let's just say gang crime for a minute, yeah? So we've got that. You get me? And also what we've got is that, you know, a boy, well, you know, his mom, like, he's got a bed to rest, he got nice food, he goes to school, there's nothing wrong with him, but yet he wants to be a soldier. He wants to be on the streets. He wants to struggle. Struggle for what? So you get me? So we need to make, like, I just need people to say something right now at the moment. What do you think of that idea, and how can we change and bring solutions to this? Especially how can we, because at the end of the day, we can't change Somalia if we can't even change here, like our own communities. So that's what we want to talk about today, man.
Do you know what I think the problem is? I don't know, me personally growing up here, I think the reason I didn't do anything bad is because my dad always said to me, do you know what? Do you know who your dad is? Do you know who I am or whatever? And the issue with the Somali kids in this generation, they don't have people telling them where they come from, what your lineage is, who you're from. If you have a strong sense of identity or whatever, you're not going to do anything to embarrass that identity. Me now, I will not go do anything mad because I know who my mom is.
Guys,
I know who my dad is.
yeah, I ask you, there's something going about.
Do you know what I mean? So what I think is, I think
key to stopping violence is knowing your lineage alone.
Not alone, but a community presence.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm from
Role
North
models.
Role models. Back in the day, we used to have this massive Somali community centre that would annually take the kids on camping trips. During those camping trips, we used to get taught about Somali stories back in the day.
I know what you're referring to.
It was good at Hijra.
Oh,
It's good, like you want role models, certain people to be leaders, to guide a new generation, all that good stuff.
That's exactly what it is.
I personally believe the issue is that a lot of Somalis, when they came here as in huge migrant communities, they were placed in areas that were very disadvantaged, had bad education, and because of those issues, it obviously put them at a disadvantage. And what could they do? They easily turn to crime. That's what it is. That's basically how I see it. And this isn't just affecting Somalis, it's affecting almost every ethnic group here in the UK. It's not only affecting Somalis, but Somalis at huge numbers are, exactly. We're in very disadvantaged areas. I mean, go to areas like Tower Hamlets. There were so many Somalis that came there in the 70s and the 80s in massive groups. And when they saw that the schools were not going to help their children well, they started moving out to Manchester and Liverpool, Leicester, trying to find their children a better education. So it's about the parents trying to, they should strive to go out and find their children better education, and that's what we can do because we're born here, we're privileged. Our parents have struggled just to, bring us up in a good life, and now we can go out and do that. Once we have kids, we can go out and do, you can identify what the issues are, but me personally, I do believe that the reason as to why youth crime is so high right now is because of the fact that Somalis are put in we're in impoverished areas, we're at socio-economic disadvantage, and that's basically it. I don't believe it's solely about your lineage, but I can see where your point is. I do believe Somali parents teaching their children about who they are and how we should be proud of who we are, and not blindly following
I
other
just
people.
mean acting accordingly to where you came from and how you were raised. Because if everyone acts like how your mom wants you to be acting, no one's going to be out here killing nobody. And on top of that, I 100% agree with the fact that us coming from impoverished, I don't want to be on camera.
Alright,
us being from impoverished neighbourhoods is a major reason for the boys doing what they're doing today. But the one thing that I want to ask everyone is, recently there's been like a crazy surge in Somali violence amongst them. So I don't know what the change is in that, because we've always been living in impoverished neighbourhoods in the 80s. But recently there's been a spike with the violence. So I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, that I can explain, because I'm always up to date with the Somali news and all that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna come back to that in a bit, because I wanna continue what the sister said about lineage. The thing is, it's really important for someone to know who they are, right? For example, it's not only lineage; it's about your history. It's about where you come from. It's about the land you have, and about your ancestors. Not knowing who your ancestors' name is, but what part of community or country or people they were, what kind of strength they had. Once you know the strength of your country, of your people, of your bloodline, of the Somalis, then you feel like, you know what, you can't say, because a lot of other black people, when they say Somalis, right, they say but you're Somali. You get me? But that word Somali, they don't know Somalis conquered the Indian Ocean. They don't know we conquered conquered the Maldives Island, right? They don't know that, half of East Africa was under our control.
There is a lot of ignorance surrounding what our history
But
is.
if a young person knew that if someone says to them, yeah, I'm Somali, but you don't know who I am, because bruv, the Americans are a superpower. They came to Somalia. You know what? Before they came to before Black Hawk Down, guess what? They were like, we're gonna go to Mogadishu. They were laughing about it. They landed in Mogadishu, but first what they did is that they used what do you call it? Pakistani armies and I forgot the other guys, some other guys, Malaysian armies, yeah? So when these people came through first, they didn't stand a few seconds, man, because every single person in the city is carrying a gun. Kids, women, everybody. They ran away. Then they were like, you know what, bring in the coppers. right? The helicopters came through, and you know what happened.
Alright.
And then once they saw this, they were like, you know what? It's time to divide and conquer.
Khalid.
So they came through, they studied who we were, boom, that's what happened. Now, coming back to our question, she asked a question, yeah?
Yeah, what's going on now? What is the reason for the recent surge in violence?
What happened is this, like the modern government, yeah, they're trying their best to give power to the people, right? That's what I believe, yeah? And the reason also what they have done, what they tried, and you'll say your part. So what they have done is this, yeah? The government tried to, register the armies. There's a lot of soldiers who've got guns, and we don't know who they work for. Yeah. But they come under the Somali army, name or title, right? So before the new government has done that, the Prime Minister brought that subject a while ago. And then a woman came to him and she said, don't even try speaking about this shit, because you might even lose your life. Talking about registering the Somali army into one system, it's like talking about, what do you call that thing? The nuclear thing, the Iraq, what the Iraq thing was it?
Weapons of mass destruction.
It's like trying to find the weapons of mass destruction. Right. That's how dangerous it is, she said, yeah? Now, the government didn't care about that. They moved on with it. The first time they talked about, we're going to do this today, boom, you have people. First of all, there were soldiers who said, you know what? We didn't even get paid. Where's our money? You get me? They've got old papers and shit. They're like, we're going to invade the government, all that kind of stuff. But it didn't happen. After a while, when they saw the government is not backing off, right, they're just on to what they're doing, then that's the next project start happening. Like
sorry, Mala, but I'm not talking about Israel, I'm talking about here in England.
Oh.
Yeah,
Recently.
I
was going in, He was going in. Shouldn't do that, He was going in.
Yeah. Look, the thing is, she's a good person as well, because she let me speak.
I know, she did it nicely.
I like that. Alright, go on.
Not anymore.
Sorry, I just went in England. Recently, like the last 5-6 years.
We spoke about it last week.
I've got one or two.
Last week we spoke about particularly Somali boys that don't have role models.
Yeah.
It's because Somali boys don't have role models because their fathers are in coffee shops. They don't really care about their families, their children. They leave everything to the mother.
Yeah.
Now that's the biggest issue that we as Somali people are facing. I'm one of them as well. My father is part of that batch. He doesn't really care about his household. He leaves it to the mother. He goes to the calf. He comes back at 11 o'clock. He eats his meal, goes to bed, and it's a recycle. It's recycling. So for us, I believe it's time for us to learn from that mistake and not be like our own father. There's no other ways. It's a long method. It's not something that we can change now. It's
interesting.
We have to be the change that we want to see for the future.
What do you think, Sister Candice?
That's
I don't know. I think this is a really scary time that we're in right now. When before the Somali community was so tight knit, but now we're looking at each other like strangers.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because again, so before a lot of you came, because he asked Sheikh Danjuma a question, and Sheikh Danjuma threw it to me, in the sense that because all of what you're saying sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? Because and I'm saying that every African community that has come over here, whether from the continent or the Caribbean, has gone through exactly this process. Yeah, exactly this process.
So it takes 3 generations.
Basically, yeah, in terms of the first generation was well tight,
and then
second generation was tight, and then everybody and people start to fragment because we're getting into the, you know what I'm saying, and that's really what's going on. But what I wanted to ask was in respect of the circumstances in which a lot of people came over from Somalia. You know what I'm saying? So obviously we're talking about there was civil war and them kind of things there. Those things carry, they don't leave you. Just what I'm saying, when you around, you understand what I'm saying? And I've learned about it when I studied it, but one of my favourite artists is Kanan. He's got a song called What's Hardcore, yeah, where he's describing, you know what I'm saying, the kind of situation, and it's gangster, yeah. What he described was fully gangster, you know what I'm saying? And so the extent to which the circumstances from which you've come over from, you know what I'm saying, have not necessarily been addressed, let's say, or you know what I'm saying, I don't know, is that a possibility playing a factor in the whole thing? Possibly, yeah, do you see what I'm saying? Or, you know what I mean, unresolved things that, so, and it's like, obviously these things play out in the next generation, but maybe there's not a understanding of what, or how these things are being picked up by the next generation or whatever else like that, because these things do happen as well. You know what I'm saying? So
it's a process.
So, when
we're going through a process.
Yeah, and when you said that about the fathers, that sounds like, again, familiar, because like a lot of the times as men we don't deal with certain things. Just what I'm saying. And so it's like we're kind of retreating. Like from my grandparents' generation, it was a rum bar, or the betting shop. Man are just in the betting shop. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it's like they're not dealing with, they're not home because they're just not dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Right. To lead the next generation of.
Just what I'm saying. It sounds very familiar.
At the end of the day, look.
I was gonna say it sounds like black culture, but I didn't want to.
Let's call it human culture.
Just to follow up,
Yeah.
I want to get the sister's point of view as well.
Yeah.
But just to follow up on that, I think with the Caribbean is more of a absent father,
Yeah.
But what the brother was saying is that we've got the father.
Yeah, but he's not. But that's. I'm saying that. I'm saying there is both.
Responsibility to the mother.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is
they're still married.
I'm saying both examples exist. So you have absent,
but there are
but you
Somali
also have.
fathers that go back home to Somalia too to try and find better work.
Well, you don't know, I don't know what the hell
That's true.
But it's like, you know,
That's
it does
true.
happen. There are Somali fathers that are here, and then you get the others that go back.
One of my cousins,
Even though in both cases, it's the absent father.
Yeah.
Even if they're doing something good, they're still not around.
Yeah.
Boys need leaders. I'll be honest with you.
But at the end of the day, because the girls already got their hoyos, you get me?
Can I say something? This is actually a thing in, say, for example, this environment, because I observed this in Asian communities as well, where they had a very strong family-orientated thing. And once they're here for a period of time, right, that happens. The only way to maintain the link is when families go back and forth. That's the only way it happens. If they stay here, they take on these people. It's a natural human thing.
Do you know what my dad said? When I asked him, like, for example, where does this distance come from? He goes, when they came to this country, the women changed on them. So they gave up.
I wouldn't say
Does that make sense? The women changed on us, so we gave up.
What did they do? Ask them for too many kids?
I don't know.
The way she dropped it. The way she dropped it.
Wait.
Wow.
No, wait.
Wow.
No,
Of course.
Somali man has his own culture and raising his family. He does it his way, right? So, this is what I'm told.
Saying the women got Western.
Exactly. They changed on us, so they neglected the whole family and left it to the mother. This is the narrative.
Let the girls speak now. Would you guys think?
This is what.
It's not new shekels. I've heard this talk before where they say that the ladies, their wives turn on them.
They become liberal, westernized.
Yeah.
They want
But then I've heard some Somali fathers say that. Oh, well, I heard this from my dad. Okay, I didn't actually specifically hear them say it, but they do say things like, you know, she's acting a bit crazy, she's acting a bit wild. You know, she wants to stay at home, do the qadwa and whatever, but she wants me to go over and take the kids to Mal'am and take the kids to school. And then they end up saying, you know, I need to take a break. So then they go back home they go back to Somalia, find work there. Eventually, they have this long break, and within that time, some may even marry again. Right?
Yeah. That's true.
Some may even marry.
Familiar again. No, seriously. Again, no, I'm not lying. I am not lying. Everything you are saying.
There's no contact.
Seriously.
So what do you have? You have a Somali mother at home. She's with her kids. Now what's happening with her sons? They're going out doing crime. She's not aware of this. She's trying to focus on her daughters. Her daughters are secretly going out, you know. They go out, they whip up their abaya, they whip up their hijab, they're going clubbing. I mean, this is just it's like a
I think it's an integration thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Alhamdulillah, there are Somali families that have it. You know, they've done well, and they've still got the father, and they've still got the mother together.
But also there's this idea of, you know, ninka adu xogaa iswalwaala bacda madow banaanka u dhigaayo. Bacda madowga. Don't forget bacda madowga.
No, but the point our uncle was making about how the other Asian communities, they go back home. But if people are unable to,
that's what I was gonna say, because it's probably not. It probably wasn't always a possibility.
It's gonna happen.
Because what they've done,
if you don't keep a link, especially one of the most important things, right, that people don't realise is language. We're all talking English, for example, right? And when that happens.
To be fair though, but this is my observation. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that I like, a lot of people that haven't done, in the black community is passed down the language. I find that most Somalis speak the language. Even
it's dying out. It's dying out. It's dying out.
Turkish people. Okay, well then that's the end then.
I told you, first generation.
One of the things you have to do is keep language.
I'll be real with you. We're gonna be all English, John. Somali John.
This is why we come to content over everything. Khalid sometimes
it's a good
speaks some Somali. You get me? We're trying to leave some message. You get me?
Man's learning still
for the future generation. But anyways, long story short, all I was trying to say is like, because the sister also brought up, why is there so much crime? Why is there so much knife crime? Why is there so much gangs and Somalis, all that kind of stuff? I don't know. At the end of the day, like
social problem.
What the Somalis are trying to do at the end of the day, because they face a lot of. I was watching this program last night. I don't know if you guys know on YouTube. It's a podcast called Halfcast.
I know. I was gonna mention it. I was gonna mention. Go.
There's a girl by the name of London who was speaking. I've seen the one
that with Maria Adrisi.
Yeah. And she was.
Chucky
Yeah. So she was talking about, like she spoke really beautiful about Somali people as well. But she was talking about how Somali people actually, some of them fought their way up to be normal, or to be accepted as a normal community. You get me? So this fighting, right, to just be to be accepted as a normal community, right, comes under, sometimes you also lose some of your culture in the process, because you are trying your best, to be part of the community, to be accepted as a Somali,
So, yeah, in doing that, you lose a part.
Yeah, you lose a part of you. It's like, because you're going through a force. When everything in nature as well, like when everything's going through force, they lose particles of themselves, right? So in the source, like when we Somali, some of them, like for example, I wasn't born here, right? I speak fluent Somali, right? And I don't speak that much of fluent English, but I can go my way through it. You get me? But I do poetry once in a while. But I'm just saying, because like,
we should do a poetry corner after this.
I'll do that in a bit. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that it's hard for me to lose my culture.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, what my mom has done right now is like she had 4 kids, right, all of them boys, and she took them back to Africa. She said, I'm gonna raise them here.
All
by
of
the
them
time,
boys.
Yeah. And mashallah. Yeah.
Not easy now. Boys ain't easy now.
She's taken them back to Kenya, right? And she taught them, like, she's teaching them about Islam, Deen, schooling, everything. By the time they're perfectly well taught and they know about who they are, then they're coming back here to continue whatever they're doing. Now, as Somalis, right, instead of sending people back home, what we could do is like we could start our own community. For example, look, I'll give you. I mean, I don't think we can be like them, but at least we can try to spark some sort of light to start something that can lead us there. The Jewish community, for example, they have their own community, right? For example, we could all say, some Somalis can say, how about we become a greater black community? I'll say, all right, that's good, that's all good and wishy-washy, yeah? But there's one thing, you get me? There's one thing. We cannot, if you want to fix other people's houses or fix other people, you got to fix yourself first. You got to fix your own home. And then after that, then other people, that light that you just started would reflect to other people, and then they'll be like, right, okay, how about we join this community? Maybe you could be better with them, right? Now, what I've realized that with these black movements, they always talk about, being strong, being black, being African, but wallahi, I met this one guy, he's an Indian, right? But he's an African Indian, right? He's married to a Kenyan woman. So he said, I've been hearing a lot of pan-Africanism, a lot of black people talking about black this, black that, going back to Africa, doing African culture, practicing African culture. But he said, you know what, I went there, I listened to what they said, I went back home, I've got bare land, I've got bare houses, but those guys who were talking about pan-Africanism or African or black history or whatever it is, they're still here. And the people, you get me? They're still here. So what I want to say right now is that, for example, us Somalis, I don't know, Wallah, I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't got a single idea, but I am desperate, Wallahi, I am desperate to start a small movement that can at least, do something, like, you know what I mean? So if you guys want to join, because Somali Corner is the base, right? And in Somali Corner is open to everyone.
Bring all the Somalis.
Bring all the Somalis.
Everyone,
right? Let's represent ourselves. Let's talk about our issues.
Start again. Restart
once, exactly. And then COE doesn't have to be the only place that we come to, but this is the start, right? I've got a camera, I've got a lot of equipment, but this is the beginning. So like seeing you guys today, wallah, I was happy. I was really, really happy. You get me? So the point I'm trying to make is that if we lose our culture, we're no longer Somalis. So what is Somali? What is in Somalia, for example, in Somalia, if someone is holding a gun to your face and you'd be like, bro, Somali.
Can I add to that? I'm gonna say one thing. If us lot, Somalis, don't do something about it, Not our kids, their kids, they're lost.
Wallahi, that's
We're
true.
finished.
That's true.
We'll become something
That's
different.
true.
If we don't do anything,
So what I was trying to say is that let's start some sort of a community that, you know.
But we need to do it now.
Yeah. We'll get there. Let's start some sort of community, right? That when people need help, like for example, Hoyo needs certain help. Like this is what's going on with my boy. We need to start something like that, like a rehab kind, not like a rehab, but something that can, you know, teach them about history. I'm good at history, right? Someone else is good at religion.
Yeah.
Someone else is good at, you know, stuff.
Why you laughing?
You get me?
I mean, my dad and his friend have been running a Somali youth football club.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. You see, we can.
Right now, there is
must
a,
stop
if
that
you go
still.
on Instagram right now, there is some
Somali
Somali
network.
thing
Professionals.
of professionals, of radiographers, psychologists, doctors, engineers, and you can sign up and go to meetings and something when you need advice in careers or advice in things, and you should that should be spread.
See, that is really important, because at the end of the day, look, how about this? How about if we form something, a Somali corner thing that's good for the youth, right? And then we connect with all these people.
Yeah.
Right? So we have, for example, if someone needs a place to go to, right? They'll be like, bro, Somali corner is here. What do you want? I'm going through psychological stuff. My family's and I'll be like, all right, we've got a Somali guy who's going to help you with that. What do you want to know? I think I'm lost. I haven't got my history. I don't know who we are. I want to know what we are. We've got someone for you. You get me? Like something, at least something. You get me? That, you know, we can. You get me?
we need someone to go into the end, talk to the Somali boys, tell them, listen, stop the nonsense.
A lot of mothers, exactly, a lot of mothers are losing their sons, and they feel miserable. They feel freaking miserable, yeah. And they don't know. There's no one going there to say, Hoyo, said to her, you know, how's life? Are you okay? Are you feeling well? Right? Exactly. Sorting that out. Like we should go to these mothers and reconcile with them. What do you guys think of this, man? What do you think of this idea? And what is the solution? How can we do something like that? Because that's the whole point of. Well, I don't come to Somali Corner or come to the park to just speak. That's not my point. My point is to attract Somalis and let's speak about.
Yeah, if you want change, you need action. Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's positive. I love that idea.
So how are we going to implement it? Because I need ideas right now. Because that's why I brought it up. You get me?
No, I'm saying like the same thing. You can start off like the actual. Let me find that.
Yeah, boy.
Start like a group chat and then maybe start a meeting. But I feel like we should keep any Somali politics out, because that would be so divisive.
that will
like
ruin.
everyone has different views on whether they believe in Somaliland, if they believe in Somalia. So I think Somali politics should just be left
No,
to
I
the
think we should
government.
solve Somali. I think we should solve it amongst ourselves. I'm a strong believer, and
keep
I reckon we
ignoring it.
can.
Some people are
No,
pro-
but
I think
I
it's a
understand
major
that, but I
issue that
believe
we
people
can't
can.
ignore. But some people
Okay,
are pro-Somali,
one of the things you may need to
What the sister said.
go on. Okay, one of the things you might need to point out.
I'm a bit mad for you walking, but
All right. Yeah, it's the cause of, say, violence and stuff. Yeah, as in, as far as I know, a problem is caused in Somalia, right? So Somalians have to say, come here, for example, right? And from that, the people don't understand the history of why the violence. We can talk about from our perspective, and yours is no real different. And you need to explain that to the youth, where it's coming from and why. They need to understand, because most of them, what's happening, they're dying of ignorance. They just, why am I angry? Why am I angry? They actually need to see the history of where it came from, right? And it's a repeated history, right? They go in places. Syria is a classic. Migrants, right? Some of the migrants will end up such and such. Violence will happen. They don't know why. That's why.
Education is the key. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's a bit simplistic.
Education to I get what you're saying.
It's a historical education of the violence.
It's given them the context.
Education in itself. Look, there's whole heap of people with degrees who are bartenders. So no, it's not as simplistic as saying education.
It's more like self-understanding. It's more like the psychology of history.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why I was saying.
Exactly.
I think
So people sometimes need to know,
because I believe if
what's
we can
happening,
solve
the
it,
cause.
then
Because as I say, cause effect.
Yeah, these are little hurdles.
But we're not in a position of power to even change anything.
No,
but
but
at the end of the day,
like if you can't stand with another guy because he's from there or there, I think we should solve that.
And that's a problem
right
that's
here.
seeped into our generation as well.
Yeah,
Also, Fidi, what the
I'll
sister
tell you a
said.
classic, sorry, let me just say. A classic for this, right, was the blood and the grips. That's a classic, right? Where they used to fight wars, right? And some of the leaders, they clicked, look, they want us to do this. We need to stop. And they came to an agreement. That's a classic to watch what they did. The violence, we know the violence, right? But when they figured out the cause, black on black violence, right? And if we want to stretch the point, organ donations. You kill people your age, take their organs. Not my age, your age. Then when you see the pattern, you think, wow, this is how it feels.
I just want to say, I just want to go very let's mention something very important about group chat. And also, wallahi, I think the political thing, true, we should avoid it. But at the end of the day, if we're going to talk about having some sort of a community, some way, somehow, it's gonna get there. We can't avoid it. Wallahi, we can't avoid it. We're Somalis. Let's be honest with each other. We can't avoid it. But every time, exactly. No, it's true. Okay, we already have a group chat. How about that? We have a group chat called Somali Corner, right? And it's a bit active, right? But what we need is more ideas and more people. And we'll try, for example, if someone says, I don't like this subject that we're talking about, we're not talking about. Because then they just want, it doesn't matter how many people that want to talk about this subject. Like, let's say it's really deep, like some sort of really negative, political, whatever, we're not going to talk about it. But if it's like political in the sense of, how can we change something like that? How can we change something like this? How can we bring the, I don't want to say it, but let's say, for example, the Landers and, the Somalis, that kind of stuff. That's what some people will say. That's not what I believe, but personally.
Can I just offer two things? Can I just offer two things? I'll offer two things, yeah. The first thing is that I know, the brother mentioned Bloods and Crips, and I know people that are involved and do training in quote-unquote gang intervention that will be most willing, to come and train if you've got Somali brothers and sisters that want to learn, because it's a skill. It's a skill to get people that have been beefing like that to come to, just what I'm saying, and there are certain skills that you need to be able to do it. So if there's training needed. No. I just meant road beef. Yeah. Just road beef. I ain't talking about all that. Just road beef, yeah. So if you would like me to connect them, that you can get people that can train you in the thing, then I can do that. The second thing is, what's it called? I have a media company, called Got Kush TV. So if there is needed any like promotion or a media platform to speak about what you're doing, holla, yeah?
This is what I like. I love this brother, It's my favourite brother. In the park, we always connect, you get me?
His favourite black brother.
Anyways, sorry, you can't say a name in the video, but before we're going to just end up this thing right now here, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. The brother wants to say something. Are you sure?
Think about, when you were saying earlier about the solution.
Yeah, go on.
Somali people, about the young kids and that. As experience myself, the word daqan-alis, that's another solution that our parents already do.
Okay.
When they take
but is it working though?
No, but
it's not working.
No,
I've been through that.
You can't say it's not
I've
working.
been through that. Wallahi, it's not working.
You're talking for yourself.
No.
I've seen a lot of people.
I've seen people, I've seen. Wallahi, it's worse when it comes to when they go back, there's no boy and Abu looking after them.
They do it out of punishment.
Not even punishment.
I've never heard of that.
Not even punishment.
Because let's just go to learn.
Yeah,
Ellis is done because you've done something bad.
Yeah, but it's still, what's this though?
A lot of Nigerians can say that story.
Good. For some people it's done good. You understand, brother? For some people it's done them good.
Some people will put chains.
No, but that's different. That's too
extreme. That's true.
There's no such thing. I never heard about chains and the whole thing.
True, wallahi, it's true. Boarding schools and that, you know what I mean? Boarding school, Quran, all
that particular story, the boy that got beaten up by his teacher.
And he died, right?
Yeah, because he had diabetes or something.
I was in that boarding school.
The mental people,
I went to that boarding school. No. I'll tell you the story behind camera because I can't say it in camera, right? But I'll tell you later, I was in that boarding school. It's fucking crazy. Exactly.
You get to a certain stage where you
travel
can't
all
get
over
them back
Somalia.
home.
Somalia is
It's
not
under
just
like a
in
super.
one
But inshallah, we're going to end this. We've got our own Somali Corner channel, Somali Corner. I'll leave it down in the comments below, inshallah, so you can all subscribe because we're going to be posting a lot of stuff. And inshallah, please, next Sunday we're going to be here. I hope the sisters come as well. And we're going to get deeper. We have to, inshallah, I'll add you into the group chat. Hopefully, inshallah. So, and all these other guys. So we can have this discussion behind camera. We come up with more solutions, what we talk about, what we can target, and all that kind of stuff, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a good day, inshallah.
Nice to meet you.
Then you're pushing everyone. You're all broken. You know what I mean? There's good parents, there's bad parents. Yeah, understand. There's good people that make bad people. You done?
Content over everything. From your government.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Who goes to win?
Listen.
Let's see about this guy, this white terrorist.
I don't even listen to Sky YG. I just listen to
Terrorist who killed the Muslims.
BBC.
Let's see where this hate comes from. A man half X-rays, half Scottish, half Irish. So, he's Christian. Why is Christian? Where he lives? He lives in Australia. What is Australia?